What's up, Foolies? It's your boy Othree. Welcome back to the Fully World podcast. This is episode number 40. I do want to acknowledge the fact that I changed the name of this podcast for the second time. I first called it Platicas, then I changed it to the Othree exhibit, and now I changed it to Fully World. I'll explain why in a whole different episode. Maybe I'll do a separate video explaining, my reasoning behind the name change and kind of dive deep into my podcasting experience since 2019. So technically, this is the first episode where I'm using the new name Fully World. But I'm gonna just continue it without having to start fresh because I do have a bunch of dope conversations from when I still called it Platicas, and I have a bunch of dope conversations where I still called it the O3 exhibit. Um, but yeah, just keep an eye out for that video if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, well, let's begin, right? So this episode is for the family, friends, and followers of Angel Villaseñor, aka Angel. He's been my mentor since I was in high school. I know him as Angel. So I'm going to just refer to him as Angel during the rest of the video, during the rest of the episode. We talk about growing up in Santa Monica, going to UC Santa Cruz, his music journey, and more. Let's begin the episode, and don't forget to love yourself today, all right? Adios. All right, here, my boy Angel Villaseñor. You want to introduce yourself? Well, I don't know what you want to be called, big dog.
You can call me Anhead, dog. It's all good.
That's right. You want to give a little
OG.
introduction?
Yeah, Angel. Actually, Angel is, that's my MC name, man. But I took it on as, just a nickname, man. But yeah, born and raised in Santa Monica, in '83, dog. So it tells you how old I am. Um, but yeah, man, born and raised in Santa Monica, fucking, back when it was a hood. It's still a hood, dog. It's still a little smaller, hyper gentrified. Shit changed, but yeah, man. Born and raised on the West Side. Done a lot of like youth advocacy work. MC'd hip hop shit. All of that, man. Like all that fun stuff. Yeah.
I told my boy Angel, we'll talk about how we met later on in this episode, but I told him we might have to split this up in multiple episodes. We might even have to do three because I've known him and he's been I've known him for a long time, but he's been a guide and I've had an insight into certain chapters in his life, and there's a lot of chapters in your life that you
Oh,
lived a
for
lot, big.
sure.
You have a long life, and not even talking about age, but just like in terms of experience.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
feel
yeah.
me?
No, for
Yeah.
sure. I appreciate you having me on, dog. I saw So Real, I saw Johnny. I was like, damn, dog, when am I gonna get the invite, dog?
Yeah.
You know
This
what
is
I'm
it's the
saying?
same thing with them. So Real had 2 episodes. Johnny might have to take like 20 episodes. That dude
Oh
is
man, that's my guy right there. I love that
the
guy.
big
Yeah,
homie.
man. No, I love what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you, dog, doing this work, man. Letting people, tell their truth, and sharing it with the community, man. That's dope.
To begin every podcast episode, I haven't done this in a long time, so I feel a little rusty, but we'll
It's
we'll
all
get
good, though.
we'll get right into it immediately. I like to, at least for the first one, I like to kind of dive deep into the person's roots. Like, so how far back
Okay.
can you trace your roots?
Um, my roots, like my ancestry, my genealogy.
Simon.
So I self-identify as a Chicano, dog. Like to me, that's it's important how you identify it, and learning growing up, that the terms Hispanic and Latinos were imposed terms. The word Chicano came from the term Mexica, which is Aztec, dog. So I'm a Chicano, even though I have the Conquistadores last name,
Yeah.
like all of us do, dog. But yeah, I'm a Chicano, man. Those are my roots. Mexican American. Um, it's a trip. Like we say brown, like, oh, we're brown, but when you think about brown, like it's not a race, dog. It's not really a race. Like it's something. Brown symbolized something meaningful to us, dog. But it's, we call ourselves brown. There's Middle Easterners that call themselves brown. You have Asian Pacific Islanders that call themselves brown. Like it's a trip when you think about it culturally, dog. Um, so yeah, I'm a Chicano, dog. That's how I roll. That's how I vibe. That's kind of the when I think about my roots, my identity, and the things that affect my identity most. Like I think it starts there for me, you know.
For sure, for sure. What about like your ancestor, like your family, your parents?
So my parents were born in Mexico, right? So they're from Jalisco. My dad is from Tecolotlan, Jalisco. My mom is from Nayarit. Um, and it's a trip. I was looking back into, man, I was using AI to kind of like trace my genealogy, man. Like you gotta like know names and birth dates and shit. But my dad's side, the further I went back, the more Spanish kind of the lineage was.
Mm.
And then when I went with my mom and her last name, because my grandma, dog, she's straight indígena, dog, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the long braids, like you see her, you see an indigenous woman. Um, so I traced that lineage back and it went back into the specific tribes in that
Mm.
area, you know, dating back to the 1600s.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so it was dope, man. It was dope to uncover, man, and kind of get that little family tree, man. But yeah, I think like most of us, man, like we're, you know, the Spaniards conquered Mexico, and you know, you have what we call mestizaje, right? Like the mixture of indigenous Spanish and African ancestry kind of meshed into one, and that's what the like Latino or specifically the Mexican community is because different parts of Latin America have different kinds of um, like racial ethnic mixing that happened based on colonialism, you know. But yeah, man, as I traced it back, you know, my parents were from Jalisco. They came here as immigrants, I think in the early 70s, dog, to Santa Monica. And we, you know, we moved into this building in the neighborhood they call the Coyotera. And I don't know if you ever heard,
Yeah,
I don't know.
you
Okay,
showed
so
it to me one time.
remember I told you, right?
Yeah.
So the Coyotera is a trip because it was the Coyotes had a deal, had an arrangement with that lot, right? With those apartments. So they would come in and bring immigrants in to those specific apartments. So you had a lot of people that were there in the 70s and the 80s and even before then the 60s that just kind of landed there in the Coyotera. And the Coyotera, what people would do is they would live there for a little while and they would go into different sectors of the neighborhood. So the Coyotera was on Cloverfield. You know, families would move to uh, Virginia to you know 16th Street to 20th Street to Michigan to Kansas, and so they would start at the Coyotera and they would branch out, but most of the neighborhood came out of the Coyotera. I was telling one of the homies he went to Berkeley. I was like, man, we should make that shit a historical landmark, dog. You know what I'm saying? Because like it means so much to the Latino community in Santa Monica. And yeah, and even the Coyotera, like that's where the neighborhood came out of too, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
cats, you know, sons of immigrants, dog, that you know were burdened by a system, homie, that just took to themselves and started banging and shit. You know what I mean? Like most communities in LA, right? And um, but yeah, that's where my roots come from, dog. And you know, they came from Mexico. Um, there was a factory too that all the immigrant families would work at. They call them los calentones right here in Santa Monica. So all the dads would work on los calentones, and the moms were like stay-at-home moms. Most of them lived in the neighborhood, and the kids ended up being like first generation Chicanos for the most part, because it was mostly Mexican. You know, even though they sprinkled in different parts, different like parts of Latin America, but it was mostly Mexican. And the kids from the Coyotera, so in the early 80s, you know, they all kind of became from the hood. They became hood, right? Like, and that's part of what we don't understand. Like across LA, dog, across you know, Southern California, everywhere, right? It's like it's that pattern of like, you know, kids of immigrants seeing their um, parents kind of burdened by the system, and also being in this new, think about being first generation, dog, coming up and you're connected to your culture as Mexicanos in the home, but you're going to school where racism is still very prevalent, right? Like discrimination is still very prevalent. So, dog, like all those kind of like that energy, dog. It was like you would kind of keep to yourselves as Mexicanos, and then out of that, I think like those that love, out of that like protection, out of that like it's shit almost like a coping mechanism, dog. Like neighborhoods were born, homie, where they ended up becoming barrios and the shit that happens in neighborhoods, dog, and gangs and shit. But it was like if you think about the origins, it's cats just wanting to feel like they belong in a fucking society that's telling them that they don't, homie, right? So it's like, how do you respond to that shit? You fucking get your homies together and wild out, dog. You know what I mean? Like you can't hate on that, dog. So that's how I grew up, man. Like, and you know, um, in my household, my pops worked at the factory. My mom was sick, dog, since I was young, since I can remember. She was sick. She had dementia. So when my pops passed, he passed pretty early. He was in his 40s, in the 80s. My brothers were like teenagers, dog, and they were already active in the neighborhood. I have 5 older brothers, and they were all gangbanging. So um, we kind of had to raise ourselves after my mom's passed, man, and you know, from that, like that's how I got into that hood shit, right? Like when I was young, dog, like all I wanted was to be from the neighborhood, dog, because that's all that I saw, right? Like it's like you see that around you, you see your neighbors, you don't see them as gang members, dog. You don't see them as criminals. You just see them as like, man, that's such and such from we call it la otra yarda, homie, like the other yard, right? like, um, but yeah, man, that's kind of me and my upbringing, like, kids of immigrants, shit, like everyone, dog. Like it was 10 of us. It was 10 siblings, dog. Imagine 10 siblings in a one-bedroom apartment. I remember like all the guys would sleep in the living room and the girls would sleep with my mom in the room, in the one bedroom that we have, right? Tiny ass apartment. And that's the kind of shit that we went through, that our communities go through, that we normalize, dog, because we're like, shit, that's what you do with family. You just fucking pack it in, homie, make sure everybody's good. But yeah, man, like, kind of having that trajectory, immigrant parents, pops passing young, my brothers kind of getting into that gang life, like me as a youngster, like I was infatuated with that shit. I thought like that's what I thought my path was gonna be too. I was like, hell yeah, like I gotta rep the neighborhood. I gotta be, I gotta be like my brothers, man. And thank God my brothers, they protected me from that shit, dog. Like they would tell homies, like, nah, if you jump my little brother and I'm gonna fuck you up. You know what I mean? Like, and so luckily, like the whole neighborhood showed us love and showed me love, dog. But it wasn't, they knew like Angel's, doing his thing. He's not going down that path, man. And I'm so grateful for that, man, because I was able to later as an adult, right? Like kind of finesse my way through the education system and go to school and do all that shit where I can look back like and really be grateful, man, that my brothers took that position and that stance, because they could have easily be like, hell yeah, you're gonna be from the neighborhood, dog, right? Like
Trooping. Yeah.
straight up, yeah, like hell yeah, and they would fuck around, dog. Like I'd be up and down with them, dog. Like I remember being young, going to West Side meetings, homie, and go to a West Side meeting, and it's like in every bench it's a different neighborhood, and go with my brothers as a little ass kid, dog, and thinking like, hell yeah, this is the life, dog. Like this is what I want. I can't wait to be, respected and admired in that same way. So I thank God now, man, that my brothers were like, Chale, like, we want you to know what time it is. We want you to know what's up so that you can navigate the culture and navigate street life. But we don't want you to be active. We don't want you to be a part of this, right? So for me, I was able to like do hood shit because I had to, dog, right? Like you got to, homie, when you're young, like you got to do hood shit, homie. Like I was a part of a clique. I wasn't formally from the neighborhood, but there's cliques, dog. Cliques everywhere. There's cliques. I had my own little clique that I was a part of, and I fucking went through it like everybody did, man. Lost homies, got shot at, fucking got in positions where you had beef, where you had to do shit yourself, like the reality of all that shit, man. Like I got to experience that super young, dog, from like 11 years old to like my early 20s. um but I thank God, like I was able to like live the life in a way where I understood it, but I wasn't in too deep, homie, where like it cost me my life, dog, like it did for some cats. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's easy, right? Like it's just one thing could just ruin your whole life, dog. One little event, all it takes.
Oh man, I was just talking about that with my brother and one of the homies. Like, I remember being young. We're in studio actually, dog. We were in like in an apartment in my homie's room. He had a studio, and one of my coworkers was with me. I was probably like 18, 19, dog. I was young. And he's like, yo, I want to go get drink. I was like, cool, let's go. When we go, we leave the apartment, leave the little studio. We're like, we'll go get some drink. And some fools popped up on us, dog, like right outside the building. And like they had us, dog, like if they wanted to, right? And I had my boy that was with me that was, he could have responded too, right? I'll just leave it at that. And he looks at me and he's like, what's up, dog? Like, and I was like, Chale, like not right here, dog. Like, let's do this movida. Let's cut through these cuts, and if we get chased and such, whatever, dog, like. And I think back to that moment always, dog, because if I would have been like, yeah, fuck it, like let off, you know what I'm saying? Like,
It's a
dog,
wrap.
it's a wrap. I mean, he lets off, they let off. It would have been who God knows what would have happened, dog. We could have all been fucking doing jail time, homie, for life, or we could have been dead. Something was just like, let's take the cuts, and if we get chased, then we'll do what we gotta do, right? And so yeah, man, in that instant, man, I think back because me and my homie, we talk about it. He's like, damn, dog, because he's doing this thing right now, dog. He's like, you grow out of that shit, dog. Not that the hood ever like you love the hood always, man, but you grow out of that young shit, dog. Like that you as an adult, you're like, what the fuck was I thinking, dog? But
Yeah.
but as a youngster, homie,
Yeah.
you're in the culture, you're in the weeds of it. You're like, fuck it, this is a life, homie. Like this is what I'm gonna do. But I think back to those moments, like any moment, dog, can change your life, dog. And that was just one of many, dog. And I don't know, I don't know why, dog, because the shit that I was involved with and the things that I was around and the people that I was with, like, yeah, like I got shot at a couple times, dog, and thank God nothing ever hit me or did anything like that. And I got chased, I got beat up, like, but I still saw it through, dog. Like, you know what I mean? I was still able to kind of like, as I grew older, I was able to kind of distance myself a little bit from it, get into that school shit. And then that school shit was gave me a new perspective on things, dog. I'm on like, damn, this shit was created, homie. Like the barrios were created, the ghettos were created, homie. Like this shit ain't a coincidence that I'm Mexican and I'm poor and I'm on welfare and like, it just that shit ain't a coincidence, right? So learning that to me, I was like, fuck, like it pissed me off, dog, right? Like really like I was like, man, there's a whole system that is at work here, man, to keep my people down, right? So I wanted to learn more about that shit. I was like, let me dive into that. I mean, that curiosity for me, man, is what helped me reshape my thinking and my perspective. Um, and yeah, man, and I was able to do that like through school, man, like being in the classroom, doing my undergrad. I did my undergrad in sociology and Latin American Latino studies Then I went to grad school and I got my master's in it's called Cultural Foundations of Education, but it really looks at education from the perspective of like critical race theory, right? I was really interested, like, how the fuck did I make it and my homies didn't? You know what I'm saying? Like that was my big question, and that's what I did my research on, dog. And so yeah, man, it's like getting hip to understanding society and the way it works made me almost kind of want to dig deep into that in a critical way to understand it. And once I did, I was like, I became mad at the system, homie. Like, I'm gonna fucking bang on the system, homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna bang on my partners down the block no more, man. I'm gonna bang on the system because fuck the system, dog. And so, yeah, man, that's been kind of my trajectory, dog. Like, young, up to no good, like a lot of us are, man. And you know, what's crazy is like, even though you're around violence and you're around the kind of chaos that we're around, just growing up working class and poor, homie, we're still surrounded by so much love, dog, right? Like in our home, in our communities, dog. I love being able to walk down the block and see neighbors and doñas, like, hey, saludos, whatever. Tell your moms I said hi, tell you, you know, like that shit right there, man, is beautiful, man. So you know, it's important that we touch on that too, because it ain't all violent, homie. It's there's beauty in it too, right? Like all of that shit mixed into one.
We could sit here and
Yeah, my
trade.
bad.
no,
I went out on a
no, it's cool. That's what I do this for. That's why I was excited for this episode because, have you ever been a guest on a podcast?
Nah, I never have, dog. I've done podcasts, but I've never been a guest. So
That's
this is my first one. I appreciate
that's why I do this because I know people want to be able to tell their stories because telling our stories is important. I believe that. Like that's why I ask about the roots, and
Yeah, hell yeah.
I could have cut you off at any point, but I just let people go because
Yeah.
sometimes
I
we're just
feel you.
waiting for that moment, for somebody to ask us the right question, and then we just
Yeah.
kind of let
Yeah, you
go.
gotta keep it organic. Yeah, you gotta let the conversations just be authentic, man. For
W-
sure.
we're gonna take it back, just a little bit, just a little bit.
Yep.
I know you said Santa Monica growing up, first gen Chicano. You talk about your brothers
Yes,
and
sir.
you kind of that part of your life. But let's talk about K through 5, like elementary school years. Angel as a little
Yes, sir.
morrillo. Who was Angel in school, like K through 5 elementary school? Where'd you go?
Damn, K through 5. So I went to Edison here in Santa Monica, and then I moved to Inglewood um, in kindergarten, actually. Kindergarten, I moved to Inglewood, lived in Inglewood, and went to Worthington Elementary.
Mm,
I went there until fifth grade, and then came back. My family moved back to Santa Monica. So fifth grade, I came back to another school called Grant, dog, and but I felt like I was, man, even young, dog, even young, I was into that hood shit, dog. Like, like I remember being in third, fourth grade, homie, like kicking it with the raza, dog, and I remember at fucking Worthington Elementary, like there was a bully that would like try to bully us and everybody was scared of him. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get my ass whooped, but I'm gonna take flight on this fool, right? But like, think about that shit, dog. I'm in fucking fourth grade, dog. Like, I shouldn't be thinking like that, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, but yeah, man, I think like school was never hard for me, dog. Like, it was just, um, it was just, from a young age, dog, I saw my brothers were in and out of jail. So like those prison dynamics would spill in to the home and I would take that shit with me to school, dog. So in the school, I was young and fucking racist and had my own little homies that were raza, right? Even that early, dog. Like I remember moving back to Santa Monica and I was in fifth grade, dog, and I go to school and it's like my first week and I was able to connect with some cat that went to catechism with me at church, because you have to do your primera comunión, homie. So he went to the school that I was going to in Santa Monica, and he was, I told him I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to school there. He's like, cool, I'll show you around to the homies and trip out, dog. Like fifth grade, first fucking day of school. I meet up with him, link up with him. He's like, what's up, dog? I'm so excited because we're cool. Like, I'm excited you're here. Let me go introduce you to my homies. And that's how we would talk, dog. Even in
Some
fifth grade,
prison
right?
shit.
He's like, let me introduce you to the homies. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
So I go, and you know, we were all Mexicans, dog, and it's like 6, 7 cats. I walk up, it's like, here's my homie Angel. And right away, dog, somebody's like, man, doesn't he look like Chief? Right? Like they told me that shit. And I was like, I just tripped out. Like, he's like, man, you look like somebody named Chief. I was like, yeah, that's my brother. And they're like, oh shit, you know, that's Chief's brother. You know what I'm saying?
Respect
Like
to
that's
1,000 at that point. Yeah.
dog, you know, but it was crazy, dog. Like I was never independent of that hood shit, dog. Like that shit, even as a fucking kid, like it followed me everywhere, dog. Like here I am at a new school thinking I'm gonna meet new friends, homie, and I go and
Chale.
right away they're like, oh yeah, we know who you are, like we know who your brothers are. They're big dogs in the neighborhood. I was like, oh shit, fuck it. In fifth grade, I'm like, yeah, that's who they are. What's up? Like, but it wasn't until college, homie, that I got to like be myself outside of who I was in this neighborhood because of
Mm.
who my family was. You know what I'm saying, dog? But even at a young age, man, I was surrounded by those kind of dynamics, man. Like I remember coming to fucking fifth grade and at this new school, and these guys were already smoking bud. Like I didn't know what the fuck that was, dog. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
one of
shit.
my
Yeah.
one of my boys, he's still, man. He's one of my brothers, man. I love this dude, man. We're still tight. He was in third grade, fucking '03. He was in third grade, and he's like, I mean, we're walking out of school, and he's like, hey, you want to go smoke bud? And I was like,
Shit.
dog, I was like, what's a bud? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Shit.
I didn't know what the fuck that was. It's like, bud, fool, some bud. And I was like, I'm good, dog. Like, he's like, we can go to the bathroom and smoke some bud. And he was a fucking third grader, dog. I can't imagine that shit right now, dog.
Eight
You know,
years
as an
old.
adult.
8 years old. That's
Straight
crazy.
up, dog. Um, but yeah, man, that was me, like K through 5. You know, it was crazy because I was born and raised in Santa Monica. In kindergarten, I go to Inglewood, and we lived in Inglewood. And the crazy shit was living in Inglewood, man. Like, um, it's a different neighborhood, right? So like, people knew my brothers were from out here, so my house would get shot at, dog. Like, there was all kinds of violence, homie. Like, and that was me as a kid, homie, like 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember, dog, like my house getting shot at night, and it became routine for me, dog. I would just throw myself on the floor, homie, and just kind of like I'd see my brothers get up and like they'd leave, they'd lock the door, don't let nobody come in, and they take off, whatever, homie. But that became normal, dog. Like it wasn't even. I was like, of course you're afraid, dog. Like you hear gunshots, but like house gets shot at, and I would just throw myself to the floor, hoping that nothing happens, see them, and I would just pray to God that my brothers would come back, dog.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was those early childhood years, dog. By sixth grade, by middle school, dog, I was already active, dog. Like what's up, fool? Where you from? Type shit. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, um, yeah, dog. By middle school is that important like transition age for mortals, man. And damn, it's crazy. That's crazy saying this shit out loud because I'm thinking back. I'm like, damn, I was never without that shit, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you got me tripping out, '03.
Let, let me, let me ask you, because you said something important right there. You said it was hard for you to be an independent kid, right? As a kid, we think about
Yeah,
innocence, we think about cartoons, toys,
yeah,
all the classic, like however you picture a kid, going to school, mochila or the little folders in kindergarten, doing
yeah,
homework.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you said
Oh yeah, what? Go
you
ahead.
said school wasn't too difficult. What made school easy? Were you like book smart? Was reading like a thing for you, or it was just like
Yeah, it
I
was.
know this,
Yeah, it
but I
was
don't
just.
gotta do my work.
Well, I would do my work, dog. In elementary school, I would do my work. Like school was easy. I think it was in middle school once I stopped, and I started like disengaging with school. But like elementary school, I mean, I was like every other kid, dog, playing fucking Nintendo and
Mhm.
fucking, watching, going home to watch Power Rangers and all that other shit.
Yeah.
Like, you're a kid. You're still a kid, dog. But like, I was a kid surrounded by the things I was surrounded by, dog. So like, I always had like one eye on that, right? And that really shaped who I was. But so it wasn't a normal childhood, dog. I like when I say I was never independent of that hood shit, is like because it wasn't until I left my community and I went off to college, dog. And I go off to college, and I remember, hearing a professor. I went to this Plática, man, and Chicano professor from LA was kicking knowledge, and he had my ear, dog. He was saying some dope shit. And then his presentation ends, and he sees me and he calls me over. He's like, "Man, where you from? What you doing out here?" Right? Because shit, I'm over there with I'm in fucking UC Santa Cruz with an LA fitted and a white tee still, like
straight banged out in college.
No, straight up. I got there, I was like, these motherfuckers don't look like me. Even the raza, I'm like, man, they don't look like me, dog. Like it's called culture shock, right? But I felt out of place. But I go hear this for speak, and I think he just tripped out on me being there. He's like, hey, come here, man. He's like, what's up? You go to school here? I was like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So he's like, man, where you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from LA, because you're up north, so everyone just says LA. Right? I was like, I'm from LA. And he's like, man, he said, look, like, here, no one knows you, right? Like, leave all of that shit there in LA. He said, come here and find yourself. He's like, do you know who you are? And that shit fucked with me, Othree. I didn't, dog. He's like, do you know who you are outside of that LA life and what you come from? And man, I couldn't answer him, dog. I was like, I kind of felt like not stupid, but like no one had ever asked me that. Like, who the fuck am I, dog? Right? So he's like, look, man, you're here. He said, leave all that shit and find out who you are. Like who you truly are. He pointed at me, like, who are you? Who's Angel? Yeah. And I think, dog, it wasn't until college that I got to like find out who the fuck I was, dog, right? And in that, like, there's something called unlearning that happens. You're conditioned as a kid, homie, to be a certain way and believe certain things, and then you go to college and your worldview opens up, and you have to unlearn some of the shit that you learned in the hood, dog. Because that's when you realize, like, oh shit, that shit is not normal, dog. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, man. So yeah, even as a youngin, man, like at a young age, like. I loved, like, school wasn't hard for me because, I paid attention, math, English, all that shit came easy to me, man. Even when I got like to middle school, man, in high school, like, I remember having mentors and femtors, in school, and they saw the potential in me that I didn't see in myself, right? And they would always tell me that, like, man, you're fucking smart, but to me, smart meant like a square, right? And I couldn't be a square. I had to be hard, right? Because that's who you got to be, dog.
You have a reputation.
And straight up, right? I was like, so I never really took school serious, man. I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do in my life, man. Like all of us, dog, right? It's like, I didn't take school serious. And I thought, like, yeah, I'm Mexican, dog. Like, look at the people serving my food, right? In middle school and high school. They look like me. Look at the security guards, right? They look like me. Look at the people cleaning the bathrooms in my fucking schools. They look like me, but my teacher don't look like me. My counselor don't look like me, right? My principal don't look like me. They don't sound like me. I can't identify with them for shit, dog. So what we don't realize is we begin to normalize and internalize that to say, like, that's who I am. That's who my people are, right? So slowly what we're learning as we're young, dog, is, man, I always take it back to Malcolm X, when he says, who taught you how to hate yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You remember that speech? Who taught you how to hate yourself? Who taught you to, to hate your hair? He's speaking specifically to the Black community, but I think you can interpret that for all non-white communities, dog, like Chicanos too. Like, homie, how many of us grew up just feeling inferior, dog. Not feeling weak or small, but just feeling like othered, right? Like we're not the smart ones. We accept that, right? We're not the smart ones. All that. How many of your homies said, "Oh, that school shit ain't for me, dog?" Right? Like those are the things that we normalize and accepted, right? Because those are the things that we heard in our households, in our communities. Um, and dog, it took me fucking 7 years to get out of junior college after high school, right? Not because I wasn't smart enough, it's because I was still infatuated with that other fucking lifestyle, still in the mix, dog. Um, it wasn't a well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I know I'm getting
Yeah.
ahead of myself,
No,
dog.
that's fine. That's we get excited telling our stories because
Yeah, oh yeah, for
it's
sure, dog.
important. No, it's important to put our
Yeah.
stories on what to say, put on wax, but to leave it on
Well,
video.
that's the real shit. The reason I got into MCing, dog, was because I wanted to tell my truth, dog. Right.
Mm.
And so this is dope because this is another avenue for that, dog.
Last question about K through 5. We've had a conversation about like wrestling. You kind of covered a little bit. Do you watch any like anything that was popping up in the 80s? I was born in 95, so my childhood didn't really begin till I was like in 2000. But what was like life like as a morrillo back then? What was like, because video games weren't really like nowadays. TV
Oh
shows are
yeah,
way different, and the
yeah,
music back
yeah.
then, you know.
Oh yeah, it was different, man. Like I mean, wrestling was dope, dog. I fucking, but I like the Ultimate Warrior, dog. WWF, homie, like everybody else. Fuck Hulk Hogan, dog. My brother liked Hulk Hogan. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, I trip out, dog. I tell youngsters today, man, like I remember being in school and like you had a crush on, in middle school and telling my crush, like, hey, I'm gonna call you at 7 p.m., be by the phone, right? Because we didn't have fucking cell phones, dog. We couldn't text each other, right? We couldn't. So and that's a whole different, like, that's something that's so beautiful, dog, that I think kind of sucks it that this younger generation will never get to experience. Like, so I'd have to tell, be like, hey, be by the phone at 7, right? And at 7 p.m. you call and you hope it's her, dog, because you don't want to have to ask for her. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it to be your parents and shit. Um, but yeah, man, it was a different lifestyle, dog. But thinking back to that question, like we were always outside, dog. Like, yeah, we had like Nintendo and then Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis and all that shit, right? It evolved, right? Now they got some super high tech shit. I remember GoldenEye, man, in high school. That was a shit, dog. You know what I'm saying? But when we were young, dog, like I always remember just being outside, homie, roaming the blocks, like going to play basketball, going to play over the line, just going with the homies, like the fellas, like, hey, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like you're young, dog. Like that's what you do. You're not stuck on a phone. You're not on a computer, dog. You just like jump on a bike, homie, and you get on the block. And either you go to somebody's house and knock for them or whistle and tell them to come outside, dog, or you fucking hope you run into them on your bike, dog. But it was just a different time period, man, as opposed to now. Dog. I don't think I could grow up as a kid right now, man. I don't know how they do it, man. It's like,
iPad kids, huh?
man, well, these youngsters, man, like, how do you have Instagram
Oh,
in eighth grade, dog? Like, I think, in eighth grade, I was super growing up too, dog. Like, I was a fat boy growing up, dog. So I was really insecure always, man. And I think that was part of the dynamic of me trying to be hard, dog, because it was like I was afraid to be vulnerable because I wouldn't want to be made fun of or anything like that. So I had to be hard. I had to scare motherfuckers so they wouldn't even dare fuck with me, dog. You know what I mean? But on the inside, like that's not who I was, dog. I was like this, friendly, fucking cool cat. But it's like I was so insecure, dog. And I think that too, like being young, that was a big part of like the posturing that I did, like trying to be hard and trying to fit in. It's because I was always shy because of my weight and shit. And, that was like that affected me, dog. Like from elementary school to middle school to high school until I became an adult. But like, so part of like it's not just this gangbang shit and the reputation that I had, but part of it was like I didn't want to be made fun of, homie. So I had to be hard. I had to be like I put hands on fools or try, I wasn't a bully, dog, because I fucking hated bullies, dog. Like I would bully the bullies, dog. You know what I'm saying? But I always had to posture, homie. I always had to like act like I was hard because I was so afraid of being vulnerable. I was so afraid of being looked at like weak or soft, like
They called the weenie.
all
Yeah.
that shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
not just the weenie, like specifically to like. I think when I was young, dog, I would associate like being chubby, dog, or being a fat boy with being like soft. I mean,
Mm.
right? Like for some reason, dog. So I was like, even though like big dudes, people think like, oh, big dudes are the tough dudes, right? But big dudes, what they don't realize is we posture, homie, because as a protective mechanisms for ourselves, dog. You know what I'm saying? So that was
Telling
me
me.
growing up, homie. Oh, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? No, like that was me growing up, dog. It wasn't until I became an adult and critically deconstructed all that. I was like, damn, I didn't even know I didn't even realize what I was doing back then, dog. But yeah, that was me, dog. That was me young. I mean, normal childhood, dog, like love at home. My brothers and sisters were cool as fuck, cousins, family parties, uh, all that beautiful, the beautiful, elements that come with being a Chicano growing up in the 90s. Um, me too, early 2000s, right? I was born in 83, dog. So like 90s, I'm in middle school, and then late 90s, I'm in high school, early 2000s. But yeah, I mean, it was a different time, dog. Like the 90s were fucking violent. I mean, on our communities, dog. So, and we didn't have technology like we do today, so it was different.
Then you went to middle school. You said something happened in middle school that kind of switched. I mean, you kind of said it was a little bit more of the same, but now it's more intense, right? Like now you're a little older. It's in the
Yeah,
mid what is it, mid 90s at this point? Um,
yeah, late 90s. Yeah, late 90s.
what middle school did you go to?
97, 96, 97. I went to John Adams Middle School.
Okay.
Yeah. So how was middle school like? Man, but by middle school, I was already turned out, homie. I was already like trying to gangbang, dog, sixth grade. Like, um, I was a sixth grader. My older brother was an eighth grader, dog. My older brother was the man, homie. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the man on campus, dog. I kind of got lucky, dog, because like everywhere I went, like when I was in elementary school, everybody knew my brother. He was only 2 years older, 2 grades older than me. So like, oh, that's such and such little brother. So like people wouldn't fuck with me. I got to middle school, it was the same shit. That's such and such little brothers. People wouldn't fuck with me. Um, but in sixth grade, like I would kick it with my brother and his homies. They were eighth graders, but I also like started forming my own kind of little crew as sixth graders. And I remember as early as sixth grade, we're already like coming up with little crews for ourselves, dog, and like nicknames and all that kind of shit. But I remember sixth, seventh grades when I got into graffiti too, man. Like, and it was a trip because that was kind of a no-no in my house because in my house they were gang members, dog. But
Yep.
I remember walk into school to middle school. I used to have to cut through Santa Monica College. And Santa Monica College back then, dog, like I'd go in the bathroom, take a piss, and it was all hit up, dog. But like dope ass throw ups and little pieces. And I was like, oh shit, that shit just blew me out. I got super curious. I was like, what is that shit? Like, I don't see that shit in my house. I don't see letters and shit like I see the gangster shit. But what is that? I got curious, dog, and I kind of got into graph in middle school as well. But yeah, but by middle school, man, I think those dynamics were already, very prevalent, man, where like it was really about that hood shit, dog. It's mid 90s. It was before the community had been hyper gentrified when everyone could still afford to live in the community, dog. So I remember we would have little cruisers, dog. We would jump in our cruisers and fucking cruise to the homie's house that lived on this street or that street. Like we were always outside, dog, hooping, playing, fucking setting up football games on the weekends. Like you're still a kid, you're still a teenager. But I was also, the those hood dynamics were still a big part of my identity and who I was. I couldn't escape that shit.
And I'm guessing school was just another one of those things where it's even
Ah,
less like fuck school at
yeah,
this point, even more,
yeah,
right?
yeah, man. I mean, school was like it was a social thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I would go to school, and that's
Yeah.
when I started detaching from, like, because I was always really good at math when I was young, and it was middle school that I kind of stopped paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Like you go through puberty, you start looking at the honeys, like shit changes, dog.
Fuck
But
the numbers. I'm gonna get some
no,
digits.
yeah. But by middle school, man, like I was still, you know, I think we're all smart, so I don't want to say that I was smart, but I think I was, you know, I was capable, and I think people would see that in me. My teachers would see that in me. I remember we were hanging out. We were in seventh grade, dog. We were hanging out like in the quad, and fucking one of the teachers comes up and he's like doing an interview. I don't know if it's for the yearbook or something, and he says he's asking us about school, and we're like, "Fuck school," and we're trying to be funny, right? Like we're saying all kinds of stupid shit, and we're just laughing about it, like, man, fuck school. School's for white people and all that other shit. Like, where the hoes at? Like, we're acting stupid, right? And
That's good.
I remember going to class, and one of my teachers, man, she was like, "I need to talk to you." And I was like, "What's up?" She's like, she brought that up. She's like, "Hey, like, you just confirmed to everybody that looks down on you, like you just proved the point to them
Mm.
that you don't give a fuck, right? That you don't care about yourself." And I was like, and I cared about her because she was like a cool teacher, and I was like, she's like, "Don't ever talk down on yourself like that again, right? It's like, pick your head up, take yourself serious, right?" She's like, I had to talk shit to that teacher and other teachers who were like, "You see, these kids don't give a fuck," right? Like, she's like, I had to back you guys up. She's like, because I know how smart you are, and I know the potential that you have, and all of you have, but you're also, caught up in these other dynamics. But she's like, don't ever talk down on yourself. Like, and I'll never forget that shit. I was like, damn, like, that's real, homie. Like you think shit is funny, and now I work with young people, right? Like I work with youth. I develop programs for youngsters, and I see that too, man. They're doing exactly what I was doing. Like they're putting up a front to be cool and to keep up a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes it's you know what we're doing is we're confirming the stereotype without recognizing that we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And but it's also part the system's partly responsible. I mean, because you learn a narrative when you're young. I mean, I'm sure you thought this way when you were young too, or three, that you're just like, college, all that shit ain't for kids like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents didn't go through that. Like, that was me, dog. That's how I used to think. That's what I used to believe, dog. I never thought college was a fucking possibility for me, dog. Like that for me, it was like graduate high school and get a fucking job. That's it. Because that's all we do, right? Um, so we begin to accept and normalize those narratives around us, especially young Latino males, man, young Latino men, right? Like that we're not capable, and um, yeah, man, in middle school, I used to like fighting, dog, and we would fight a lot, man. And I remember,
Yeah.
I remember getting down in the yard and we jumped some cat, and then I get called into the office and fucking, and she's the assistant principal, man. Her name is Mrs. Everett. I'll never forget her name. She was crying, dog, and I used to look at her like a second mom, man. Like I had love for her. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, hey, why are you crying? And she's like, why would you do that? Like, she was so disappointed, dog. Like, and I felt bad disappointing her, dog. I was like, damn, like, fuck am I doing? And she's like, you don't understand, like, what I see, like, the angel that I see. Like, I wish that you could see who I see. Right. And it wasn't until I became an adult and I started working with young people that I understood that, dog. But as a youngster, you don't understand it. Um, but yeah, man, having people, having those people in middle school and in high school, that are mentors and that really care about you, man, that's super important, man, because it at least plants a seed. Maybe you won't get it there, dog, but later in life, at some point, man, that seed will fucking begin to sprout where it starts to make sense a little bit, and you're like, oh shit,
When you have that
damn,
aha
okay,
moment.
yeah, yeah. You're like, oh shit, that's what they meant. You know what I'm saying? So you're always grateful for that, man. You're always grateful for those people, man. And so as an adult, that's who I try to be for young people, man. When I was working with youth, like it's like, man, I'm gonna believe in you, like because you know people believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself when I was young. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta love on young people, dog, and have them view themselves from a place of self love, homie. Because we're so quick to hate ourselves, man. It's, even as kids, man, like we point out all the negatives. We're from poor families. Um, we're, in violent homes or abusive homes or where there's drugs, and we normalize all that shit. And, you some of us get swept away by that shit, meaning like we get lost in it. Others, that aha moment, man, at some point in their life, they're like, fuck, like they just have an opportunity, man. And I thank God, man. I thank God, like, I had the dope ass family that I had, man. My brothers and sisters were fucking dope, man. Like, they kept me on the path, dog. And I'm super grateful for that now. You know what I'm saying?
And in middle school, when I was in seventh grade, that's when I started smoking. And it might be a lot different back then. This was 2008. I was put
Okay.
into a special program called Impact. There was like a bunch of
Impact.
what they
You
would call
start
back in
smoking
the
weed?
day at risk youth, right? At that point, it was just like at risk youth, you know. And they would put us in a room like every Wednesday or something like that. And like
Mm.
every Wednesday, they would call us in, they would pull us out of class, and it was just like I knew some of the other students that were in that group, but it was just like a group where they were just I don't even think they knew what the fuck they were doing because we would go there and they would give us this piece of paper where it was like explain your emotions. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
Yeah.
why the fuck is this shit important? I understand it now because I host those kinds of groups, I've
Straight up.
done it
Yeah.
before, I do it now. But back then, were there any programs like that where they were trying to like put you into them shits?
Yeah. Like, you just love getting called out of class, huh? Like, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like part
um,
embarrassing, but part like pride. Like, yeah, fool, I smoke. What's up with it?
hell yeah. Know what time it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Those little programs were cool, man. I think I didn't realize it till later, but it was just people were putting you into programs like that, not because you're a fuck up, dog, but because they see potential in you, right? Like, um, so yeah, man. I had in middle school, not so much in middle school that I can remember, but for me, man, like in Santa Monica, what was dope, and this is what got me into the work that I do now, but we would go to Virginia Park after school, right? It was like an after school program. So um when we would walk out of middle school, we would go and we wouldn't even go home sometimes, man. Or maybe we'll go home, put our backpack down, and then walk to the park because they had fucking programming, after school programming, and it was dope. Everybody would get together. And there they always had groups for us, man. Like I went to my first Dodger game, to my first Laker game, all that shit, Disneyland for the first time because of those centers, man. But yeah, in high school for sure, they pulled me out for different like groups. It wasn't like drug specific, but like I had a mentor who was Rasa too. He was one of my counselors, and he I remember he brought in a cop, former cop from LAPD that retired, and they brought me out and like seven other dudes, and we would come out like every other week, and they would like we would just talk, and it was dope, man, because he spoke my language. Like he was from my neighborhood, so I knew that he knew me and he knew what's up. So I used to really love going to those groups, man, because you see other homies, and then you're there talking about shit that you wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to talk about because you're not talking about that shit at home. No, you're not talking about your feelings. You're not talking about even though it's corny, dog, but all it takes is somebody modeling that for you in that moment for you to feel comfortable enough to engage. And then it goes a long way, man, because what you don't even realize is like you're healing in that space, whether you recognize it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why those spaces are so important, man. But yeah, I had a lot of those in high school. Because yeah, you know, because I was one of those kids, man. I was you know, I got into fights, I got suspended, I got expelled in high school. Like, um, I was into that life, that shit, you know. So that was kind of like my high school life.
So Santa Monica High School, obviously, right? So you got expelled
Yeah,
from Samoa?
yeah, yeah.
What the
I
fuck?
went to. It was crazy, man. So I get to Samo High and it's the same thing. Like first day of Samo High, ninth grade. My brother, fucking, he's the man, dog. He's an 11th grader, right? He's like, meet me here. So I meet him and he walks me to class. And he walks me to every class. So he walks inside. He's like, it's my little brother. Don't fuck with him. You know? Like, hey, shit, he had a reputation, dog. So people wouldn't fuck with me, dog. But yeah, so freshman at Samo High. And by Samo High, man, like, yeah, there was already like the kids that I grew up with in middle school, they were becoming active, like getting jumped into the neighborhood. And we were super racist, dog. Like we were, you know, we would fight the black homies. It was always, you know, those racial dynamics. It was almost like a mini prison system, dog, at the school, right? Like think about that. Like your family members, your primos, your cousins, your tios, or your brothers in and out of jail, they come home, they teach you all those dynamics. Like I learned to be racist, homie, because they brought those prison politics into my house, and I took those shits with me to school. So I turned all the homies racist too, no? You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck them cats, right? Like it was just, yeah, I didn't know what was happening. Of course, I was being conditioned, but it was like that was it, man. So we all had our cliques. Like all the Latinos would hang together. Whites would hang, you know, in their own group. Blacks would hang in their own group. It was really racially specific, more so than like athletes and that kind of stuff. Like I was never into formalized sports, homie, because I was so caught up in that hood shit, right? But Samo, I get there, and yeah, man, like you know, my brother was he was a knucklehead. He was cool as fuck. That was my dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he just wouldn't take shit from nobody, dog. So we're at Samo High and we're walking into the fucking principal's office. No, we're walking into the admin office or like the attendance office. And then this fucking I don't know what he was. He's an administrator. He like stops us. He's like, "Hey, don't go in there." And my brother's like, "I gotta go do such and such." And he's like, "No, don't go in there. Go to class." And he's like, "But I just told you I gotta go do such and such." And then he grabs the door. He's like, "Don't go in there. If you open the door, I'm gonna expel you." So my brother, you know, my brother looks at him and just fucking pops the door open. He's like, "If you guys walk into that building," he's like, "Come on, fool." So we walk in the building, dog. That's how I remember it. I don't know. I gotta talk to him about it. Maybe it's different, dog. But we walk in and sure enough, they kick us out, dog. Like
That
because of
quick.
that shit. Defiant, tell me, but really what it was is like we weren't doing well, you know, in terms of grades. Like we didn't give a fuck, dog. You know, like we weren't paying attention. It's easy to expel you if your grades ain't on point, you know. So they send me to Malibu High. They send me and my brother to Malibu. We get to Malibu and we had homies over there. We had two homies that we grew up with that we were in middle school. We call them up. We're like, "Hey, dog, we're gonna go to Malibu." The boots were like, "Hell yeah, hell yeah." You know what I'm saying? So we get there and it's, you know, super white, man, but we're kicking it with them. And my brother's like, "Fuck that. I can't stay here, dog." And he was old enough. He was 16 already, where he was able to go to Olympic. And I couldn't follow him though. I couldn't go with him because I was only 14 at the time. And you had to be at least 15 or 16 to go to Olympic. Olympic was a continuation school. So my brother transferred out of Malibu, went to Olympic, and he left me at Malibu with the homies. But I remember when I was at Malibu, dog, I missed the whole first month of school. I was like, fuck school, because they would pick us up on a bus and they would take us over there. So me and the homies would walk to the bus, and instead of getting on the bus, we would fucking detour and go to the homie's house who lived up the block because his mom was always at work. So we would go kick it at his house and like smoke weed and play video games and just kick it, you know?
And do malandro shit, man.
Straight up, yeah. And then I got SARBed, homie. Like the SARBs is when like you miss so much school, they send you to fucking court. So I went to court and lied and shit. My sister backed me up. She took me to the SARB meeting, and right before we went to the SARB meeting, we're like, "Hey, by the way, we told them that we've been living in Mexico or that our grandma died." I forgot the excuse, dog. You know, she's like, "What the fuck?" And then she walks in and she just goes with it. She's like, "Yeah, you know, we've been in Mexico."
Yeah.
So they gave me a chance, and then it's crazy. Like once after that SAR meeting, man, I got like straight A's, dog. Like school was easy. Like it was always easy. I just never put in the effort. So I didn't want to like get kicked out because if I got kicked out of Malibu, they would have to send me to LA. I was like, fuck that shit. So I did my thing, dog. I did really well. I did so well that they didn't want to let me back to Salvo. They're like, dude, you're doing good over there. Fucking stay over there. I was like, fuck this place. Like, send me back, you know? So I ended up going back to Malibu in 10th grade. I mean, I went back to Samo in 10th grade. And then shortly after that, my brother, he was supposed to be a senior. So the summer of me going into 11th, no. The summer of me going into 10th grade, right? We're in 9th grade together. Some shit happened, dog, in the neighborhood, and my brother gets arrested and he gets sentenced to 28 years, right? So I'm 14, he's 16, turning 17. And he's my dog, man. Like, you know, like that's my boy, dog. And for me, like going in and out of jail was so normal because my other brothers did it. So I was like, oh, that fool be home in a couple months. Like, it's all good. And it wasn't until the trial where they were like, guilty, 28 years. As they convicted him as an adult. I couldn't believe it, dog. Like, I was like, fuck. Like, my world was shook, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my dog, homie. Like, he was like, you know, he's who I was always with. We were always together. So that shit happened, and I kind of spiraled a little bit, dog. I fell into like a depression. I got caught up in the streets. I got caught tagging when at juvenile hall, like little stupid shit, man. Like, you know, one incident, dog. You know, we were together that night actually, and some shit popped off. We're together using my older brother's truck because my older brother was drunk. So my brother was like cruising the neighborhood in the truck. It's like summer, dog. And then we go back home to stop for something. And I go in and I remember my older brother tells me something. He doesn't know that we have our other brother's truck. And he tells me something. And he was mad, but I had a lot of respect for him, dog. So because he was mad, I come outside and I tell my brother, I was like, hey, dog, I'm going to stay. He's like, oh, fuck that, fool. Let's just go, fool. Like, fuck it. Like, meaning like,
Yeah.
if we get in trouble, we get in trouble. And I was like, nah, fool, I'm going to stay. Like, I'm going to go back in. He's like, all right, fuck it, fool. And he leaves. So imagine he has a K5, homie, with young, and he has all the homies with him. Some shit pops off. And yeah, he never made it home, dog. Like, you know, never made it back in. So that was a significant moment in my life where, like, you know, like I don't know what would have happened if he stayed out. Like we were such like we already doing stupid shit, right? Let's put it that way. And we could have easily got killed, homie, or done up, or I could have also done a bunch of time. But losing him really like kind of made me think through what I was gonna do with my life, right? Like not during high school. In high school, I still didn't give a fuck. I was still a knucklehead. I couldn't visit him until I turned 18. So once I visited him when I turned 18, he was like, fuck the homies, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, damn. He's like, hey, homie, like, fuck all this shit. All this shit that we knew, all of that, like, fuck all that, dog. It's like, go home and handle business. So I took that to heart, man. Like, I felt like I had to live my life for the both of us, dog, because he was caught up. So I enrolled at Santa Monica College, and you know, it was still hard. I was still distracted. I was still doing stupid shit. But it's crazy. Like when my brother left, we're super into that gangbang shit. He leaves, and I kind of get into that hip hop shit, right? Like I get into like Wu Tang and East Coast hip hop, like because I was into gangster rap, homie. Like that's what I used to bump Pac and RBL Posse and all this shit. But yeah, there you go, right from back in the day.
The Chronic.
All of that, dog. What's it? MC Breed, fucking
Ooh,
Proper
all
Dose,
the good
all
shit.
the
Yeah.
all this shit, right? It wasn't until like later in high school that I got into graffiti a lot. I got into graph, and then I got into hip hop where I wanted to start MCing. Um, so it was like it was dope because like those worlds merged for me. So like that gangster shit, and then I got into hip hop. I really loved MCing and freestyling. And I love writing. I love graffiti, man. I got into graph. I became kind of, became good at it, dog. So like, I started getting a name around graffiti, right? And my brother was like, "Cool." Like, he's like, "Cool, you're doing like." He didn't really, he didn't really see that as bad. He's like, "Oh, cool. Like, do that shit. Don't do this shit. Do that shit." You know what I'm saying? So it's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
So I got into graph and I got into hip hop, man. And yeah, man, that also just changed my worldview, dog. Changed my dynamic, you know.
But you actually graduated from high school though, right?
I ended up graduating, yeah, man. So, my bro going into 10th grade, I kind of struggled because I had just lost my bro, right? He had just, got busted. So I was struggling to find my way independent of him, right? Because he was like, big bro was always there. And then he wasn't. So it was like, who are you without your brother? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of had to step into that role because he was always the leader, homie. Like he was the leader with the homies. He was the leader amongst. So I kind of stepped into that, man, because I try to mimic him and who he was. So I was like, fuck it, like. So I was part of a crew, and I kind of took on like a leadership position in that crew. Still causing ruckus at school, still fighting, still doing stupid shit. And I barely graduated high school, man. I actually didn't realize I was gonna graduate. I stopped going because they were like, "You're not gonna graduate." So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna graduate. What the fuck am I gonna go to school for?" It was like the last month. But my dope ass counselor, man, Mr. Joyce, God bless Mr. Joyce, man. It was one class that I needed to graduate. It was an ROP class, and I didn't have the grade. I didn't have. You needed to work, and I didn't work. I didn't have work hours, so I couldn't pass. And he worked it out. He worked something out with that teacher, dog. So um, I guess they tried calling my house, and for whatever reason, they couldn't get a hold of me. We didn't have cell phones at this time.
Yeah.
Not in the way we do now. So my boy fucking takes the bus, homie. One of my boys takes the bus and he runs to the fucking door and he's knocking. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Get dressed, fool. Let's go to school, dog. Mr. Joyce said you're gonna graduate." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, fool, get dressed, dog." He was like happy for me too. You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Hell yeah, fool." So I was like, "You better not be fucking with me, fool. You fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck you up, dog." You know? So he's like, "Nah, man, he worked it out. He told me to come bring your ass to school." So I fucking we get back, and it was a trip because like he was able to go and let him off campus to go get me. And then I take the bus, I go to his office, and he's like, "Look, here's the arrangement. You got to do this, that, and that, and you'll graduate." And that moment for me was like life changing, dog. I was like, "Damn, like I'm gonna walk the stage." You know what I mean? Like that's so big, dog, because so many of us don't get to do that, man, because we don't make it to that point, Like, and I had already given up. Luckily, dog, I had him in my life, man, and he cared about me, dog. He was one of my mentors, and I was able to graduate, man. I graduated Samo High, 2001, dog, and then I went into SMC, and I kind of didn't take college serious initially because it was just I was still smoking a bunch of weed, fucking going to the studio. I was already into hip hop, so I was fucking making music. Like
You're distracted.
I was distracted. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like by hip hop and weed, dog. And but I would like take a class or two here and there, and then a couple years in, I remember meeting with a counselor, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like you need these 4 classes and you can transfer. And I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it, dog. Like, I was like, wait. I was like, you mean like I can go to university? She's like, yeah. Dog, that shit blew my mind, homie, because I never thought of myself as someone that can go to a fucking be in a dorm, like all that shit you see on TV. I'm like, that shit ain't for us, homie. You know what I'm
So you
saying? Like,
so you're just collecting credits and then it mounted up to something.
they mounted up, dog. Like, they helped me with like an expungement where I got rid of some withdrawals and it changed my GPA. And yeah, man. So she's like, if you do these 4 classes, you're eligible to transfer. And so that semester I took those 4 classes, homie. I handled business. And I remember coming home and was like, hey, I think I'm gonna be able to transfer. I'll tell my brother, and he's like, about time, motherfucker. You've been at SMC for like
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Uh, but it never felt real to me, Othree. Like, that shit never felt real to me, dog, until that moment. And I was like, are you serious? She's like, I'm serious. And she showed me my transcripts, and I was like, hell yeah, like this college shit, like this shit might be real. Like, me in a fucking university, like, so I handled business that semester, dog. I just had that on the top of my head, like, man, I'm gonna go to college. Really, I was like, I want to go to the dorms, dog. Like, that's what was in my head. Like, that shit
I
looks
want to
cool as
party.
fuck on TV. Like, I want to do that. I didn't even know about partying like that, dog, until I got to college. But sure enough, man, I took care of business. I ended up applying to a couple Cal States first, and I got into CSUN. That was it. I didn't get into nothing else. So I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna go to CSUN. I had just committed. I went to orientation, and then
Wait,
this girl.
at SMC, you were did you have a major or any of that, or was it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like you were on just on the fly type shit?
it was called liberal arts. I was a
Okay,
liberal arts
yeah,
major, which essentially is like,
on the
like,
fly, you trying to figure it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. It's called liberal arts. This motherfucker doesn't know what he wants to
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Um, so that was my major, liberal arts. But dog, so I'm working at Virginia Park at the time, and there's this girl who's interning there. She's also about to apply, and she's like, "Yo, you ever heard of this thing called expungement?" And I'm like, "Nah, what the fuck is that?" She's like, if you've maintained a 2.5 GPA for the past 2 years and whatever, you can apply to take off like all the old grades that are fucking up your GPA. Like, it essentially removes them and it sponges them. I was like, no fucking way. She's like, yeah. So I did it and my GPA went up. And I was like, damn, I might be able to go to a UC. So I looked into schools that accepted winter transfers, and it was UC Santa Cruz and San Diego State, I think. I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to apply to UC Santa Cruz. Fuck it. Let me just try. I fucking applied, dog. And I didn't go to Northridge. So I was like, it's like, fuck it. Let me just try, see what happens. And I got accepted, dog. That was best moment of my life, dog. One of the best moments of my life, Othree. Like, I remember I was at work and I was waiting for the fucking acceptance letter, dog, and it wasn't coming. They had told us a certain date. I was checking my emails, nothing. I'm like, man, fuck it, I didn't get in. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna call, right? So I'm at work, dog, and I call fucking admissions for UC Santa Cruz, and I'm like, hey, I'm waiting for I'm waiting to find out if I got admitted. They're like, what's your name, whatever. And they're like, have you checked your portal? And I was like, what's a portal? And they're like, your student. They're like, your student portal for Santa Cruz. Like, you're supposed to set up a portal, and that's where they'll tell you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I hang up, and they tell me how to do it. So I set up my portal, and I had a message, dog, and I clicked the message, and the email said, congratulations, you've been admitted to. And I was like, ah! No, there was somebody like random there at work with me, and I started fucking screaming and shit. She's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I got in. AO3, check this out, dog. I printed that letter, dog. I printed that offer letter, and I folded it up, and I put it in my wallet, dog. And I told myself, if ever I'm struggling while I'm at school, if ever I feel like I can't make it, pull that letter out and remember this fucking moment, right? And dog, that shit got me through '03. Like there were times when I was there and I was like, man, fuck this school shit or fuck, because you know it's tough sometimes, man. And I would reread that letter and it would take me back to that moment, dog, where it was like
You relive the
I was like,
excitement.
yeah, I was just like, fuck that, I'm here, like I'm here, I gotta make this shit work. So that letter, man, it stayed with me, dog. I wish I don't have it anymore, man. I wish I did, man, but that letter changed my life, man. And you know, I never looked back, dog. You know, just did that school shit and did my thing, man.
At this point, it's what, like the mid 2000s, early 2000s. What year is this?
No, this was 2009, dog.
Okay, 2009.
Right? So I graduated 2001, and
And you did
then
SMC for like 7 years.
SMC I started in 2003. So
Okay.
yeah, it took me about 7 years, dog. Yeah, to transfer out.
And so
I'm
during
telling you,
that,
I was coasting, dog. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
So this whole time you're just taking classes, liberal arts student. You have a couple hollies. What do you just random hollies
yeah.
like on the side
Well,
doing
I
hip
worked
hop?
at like, yeah, I was like making music, into graffiti, smoking bud, girls, all that shit, right? So, I was
Half
working at like
half malandro,
random
half
jobs.
scholar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know. I had like random jobs. Like I worked at Trader Joe's and Ross and that kind of shit. And then I got hired for the city of Santa Monica. I got hired to run a teen center, dog. Um, this was in 2006. They hired me, and it was really working there, dog. So my job there was essentially like my formal title was like community program specialist, but really it was like I was in charge of the teen center and creating dope after school programming for high school youth. I was only 22 years old, dog. I was young, right? Like I was young myself, given this responsibility to create an after school center.
How'd you get that holly though? Like, cause that's a. I've been there.
Man,
I get it. You feel me?
well, you know what's crazy, man? Like I had worked for my high school counselor at when I graduated high school, that counselor that looked out for me, right? He calls me, he's like, "You want a job? Like I'm a principal at the school. Come work as a it was called an instructional aide." I was like, "Fuck it, I'll take it." Like I wasn't working then. So I worked with him at that elementary school for like a year and a half. Um, but that gave me the experience, doc,
Mm.
to work with children and youth because it went up to like middle school or something. So when I applied, somebody helped me apply so that I could meet the minimum qualifications. And I remember '03, like I was taking my application to City Hall because back then you had to go submit it. And I ran into the cat whose job I was applying for. He had gotten promoted. We used to call him Buck. He used to run the park, dog. Buck was like everybody knew Buck. And he's like, "Angel, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm applying to this job, dog." He's like, "You applying to this shit?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Look, man," he said, "you belong in that seat." He said, "If you ever make it to the interview, you need to say, you need to connect your story to that space, right? Connect your personal lived experience to that space. It's like, then you'll get the fucking job." And that's what I did, dog. When I
Mm.
fucking interviewed, I was like, man, I remember saying like, I want this to be what I want this to mean. I want this place to mean what it meant to me and kids like me when I was growing up here. And that's what got it, dog. They told me that later, like, man, that line, like,
Yeah.
like it meant more to me. It was different for me. It wasn't just a job for me, dog. So I started working with youth. And that was the thing. I'm working with youth and I'm preaching fucking college and I don't have college myself, right? So that's really why I was taking classes kind of little by little while I was working. And then I just got to a point where it was like I had enough credits and I was able to get my GPA up. And I'm like, oh shit, I can do this college shit. Fuck it, let's roll.
Was it we'll talk about UC Santa Cruz in a bit. Well, was it hard maintaining your other identity under wraps while you're working at the park and going to school?
I,
Cause it's
yeah,
loud,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Being a rapper, dog, and doing graffiti is loud, whether you
Yeah,
want to or not, dog. Like it's people know your rep. Obviously,
yeah,
you already have this rep that follows you
yeah.
from when you're young. Did that ever get in the way, or did people ever bring it up, or were you lucky?
Well, you know what? I leveraged that, man. I leveraged that to connect with the youth, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember you know, because I had shit. I was a graph artist. I was from the hood. Like the little gangsters, the little homies, they knew me. I was cool with them. Always dap them up, tell them to come inside, help them out with resumes and shit. And then what was dope is at that time when I got hired, all the kids were into graffiti, dog. Right? They were all into graph. They had their little black books and shit. They'd come to the school. They'd come to the center with their black books. And they didn't really know me. Like they knew of me, but they didn't really know me. And so I remember like it's my first week on the job, homie, and like these cats are coming in and they're being fucking, you know, knuckleheads. It's like I was, right? 16, 17 years old, but they all have black books, dog. So I knew, I was like, that's my in right there, dog. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, you guys write? And they were like, they looked at me like, fuck is this fool? Like, I'm not gonna tell them what I write. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, I was like, oh yeah, you guys are writers or what? And I was like, can I see your book? So they showed me the book and they're like, oh, don't tell nobody. I was like, nah, man, like I know what's up. I know what time it is. You know, I used to write too. And then when I told them what I wrote, they knew who I was. They're like, oh shit, like that's you. I was like, yeah, that's me. So I was like, you mind if I bust something, right? On your sketchbook? They're like, yeah, go ahead. So I did a like little piece right there for them. And then the next day, dog, there was like fucking 10 more kids that showed up, right? And they were like,
hooked them.
Yeah, they were like, they're like, you're the dude that did this piece in the homies book. So that brought them into the center, dog. So we created an urban arts class out of that shit, right? It was that's how I met Deffer, fucking K2S and Heaven. They came in and did after school programming, dog. We called it urban arts, homie, but really it was this graph, dog. Like for me, my goal was like, how can we get them to cultivate this skill in a safe environment, without getting caught up in the street? I knew they were still gonna write in the street, dog. That's the culture, right? Like that's part of the game. But for me, it was like, man, if that's what's gonna bring kids in and keep them here, fuck it, let's do it. So I had to flip that, like, right? I had to tell my boss, like, hey, I want to do this class. You know, I want to do like a graffiti arts class. And they're like, man, you can't have a fucking graffiti arts class. But my boss was so cool, dog, that she knew what I was trying to do. She's like, let's call it urban arts, right? So she helped me create the language for it. And that's how I like learned that like professional side, dog, through her and through others around me. But I would leverage my identity, dog, and who I was in the neighborhood and all that, in order to bring kids in to the center, in order to get them engaged. Like I would go to the schools and present. I would go tell my story and be like, if you want to hang out with us, meet us at the center. And man, Othree, like so many kids identified with my story and who I was, dog. So like when I would go do outreach at the middle school, at the high school, they would then come to the center, dog, and they'd be at the center. And it was kind of tough because I'm still young. I'm 22, I'm 23. I'm still fucking acting a fool, dog, on my own time, you know? But it's really where I learned, and this is what I get a lot. This is what I get paid a lot of money to do right now, Othree. I learned how to navigate both worlds, homie, where I can be connected to the culture and the streets, and I can navigate this white normative world, this professional world. And I was able to turn what they teach us to be ashamed of into something beautiful that I leveraged to say, like, look, this is our story, right? Like, this is what works. And through that, dog, like, now I remember learning that. I was like, yo, like, I need to learn this white shit, right? I need to learn this world. And I learned that through school. And I was good at engaging at-risk youth because I was a fucking at-risk youth, right? So I knew what they needed. I knew what was gonna, like resonate with them. But most importantly, dog, I knew what time it was. Meaning, like, hey, homie, if there's hood dynamics, like shit, like those, I respect that. I can't, so I knew how to navigate all of that all at once, dog. And learning that skill set, homie, man, it really took me far, dog, because it's like, man, it's like taking our culture and instead of being ashamed of it, saying, hey, if we learn to embrace these elements of our community's culture and we create programming around that, you're going to get kids to come inside these centers and you're going to keep them busy, and you're gonna expose them to different things. And through that, man, like the centers that I went were successful, dog. Like when I was at the park, then I went to PY, right where I met you, dog. Like that's what it was. Like you never came in and saw me. Like I was a case manager with a degree, but you're not like, who's this fucking who's this square ass dude over here that doesn't know what time it is? Nah, you walk in, I'm like, what up, dog? Like, you just keep it real, but you keep it real, and you also, you did youth work. You do both. Like, all right, you keep it real, and then you do the case notes, and you do all the other shit you need to do while still respecting the culture, man. So it's like a delicate dance, dog. But when you learn that dance, homie, woo, that's a skill set, homie, that you could. That's a valuable skill set, man. Like leverage your culture, man. Leverage your lived experience as a positive, dog, and bring that in with the academic shit, the professional shit, homie, and watch out, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, if somebody's watching this and listening, wherever you kind of listen or watch my video or watch this podcast, I'm a product of this. You feel me? I'm a product of this. All this is it pretty much starts, with Angel in that meeting in 2012. We'll get into that in a bit. I want to end the conversation with the music, but at this point in 2009, when you're working at the park, were you already about like Chicano studies and Chicano work, or when did that come about?
I was kind of learning it because Jaime, man, Jaime was my mentor, right? Jaime Cruz, a lot of love for him. He was a professor, but he worked with me at the park. We both worked at the center, and he was a professor for Chicano Studies. So like I was catching on to it, man. But it wasn't until I left to UC Santa Cruz. So 2009, I get in. I start 2010, right in January 2010. It's the winter semester, and that's where I get deep into like our culture, man, and learning about our history and our roots, and then learning about like the Chicano movement, Chicano studies, ethnic studies, and I was empowered, homie. Like I love that shit. I was like, man, this shit right here, like if all the young people in our neighborhood knew about this shit, like it would empower them. So it was like that happened when I went to UC Santa Cruz, and then coming out of UC Santa Cruz, dog, I started working at PYFC, and PYFC, like at the time, my mentor at the time, um, he also got me hip to all that shit. Selena, my coworker, right? Like these were people that came out of Chicano Studies, right? And we're running an organization on built on civic engagement and social justice. So coming into like merging that hood shit that I knew, now I knew how to name different isms academically because I had just graduated with my BA. I come back to the neighborhood and I work for this other youth center, this nonprofit that's all about social justice. All the programming was rooted in social justice. Like that's where I really picked up my lens on like, critical thinking, dog, like root cause analysis, like, and that shit made me pursue the program that I pursued for grad school. Like I was hooked, dog. To me, it was like the social justice shit is where it's at, right? Like it's it's like how you advocate for your community, how you advocate for youth, how you advocate for social change at the local level. Um, so that's coming back with my BA and working at the PY as a case manager and then a director was invaluable for me, man. Like I'll never, I'll never forget that, man. Like that really gave me a lens from which to view the work. Then I go to grad school and just sharpen those tools even more, dog. And I come back and have different hollers. But for me, it was about like merging all the elements of my life, man, like the hood shit, the social justice shit, uh, and then learning about our communities and our people, man. Chicano studies, Chicano with an X. Remember that, dog? Like I
Yeah.
learned like the Aztecs, dog. They were the Mexica, right? Like they weren't Aztecs. The term Aztec was given to them by white academics
Simón.
who
Yeah.
called them the people of Aztlan, so they called them Aztecs, but they were the Mexicas, and I loved um, that the term Chicano came out of Mexica, and understanding that I come from kings and queens and warriors, dog. Like it really, that element really empowered me, dog, in ways that I hadn't before, man. So it's a big part of the identity that I hold now.
Spelling Chicano with an X because I thought it was dope. Yeah.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
I asked you about Chicano studies and Chicano the identity work because it's when you're on the other side, when you work with youth, or even when you're like studying it, right? I didn't really get to study it too much like that in college. When I went to college myself, a lot of my Chicano studies is independent, like on my own. But you went to school for it. Those aha moments when they hit you,
Oh
dog,
yeah,
they hit you in the face
hell
and then
yeah.
repeatedly. It's almost like every time you go to class or you learn or you read a book or you read an article or you stumble upon a new writer, it's like aha moment after aha moment, and you start giving
Oh, straight up.
definition of thing, right? Like defining culture shock, defining um
I'm with
just
you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Go.
like even like critical race theory, like understanding what that is, right? That's
Hell yeah.
you hear about it and you're reading like, wait, what the fuck? Like I've been learning about this shit my whole life, dog. Like this is
Well, you know what it is like you understand it inherently, dog, because you
yeah,
understand your experience. But what you're learning to do is name it in ways that you never had.
exactly.
And learning to name something, dog, is so empowering, dog, because like I'll give you an example, dog. When I was at the university, I was in a classroom and we're learning about racist microaggressions, right? It's a course on critical race theory. And the article was about a teacher and a student who had like a last name that the white teacher couldn't pronounce. So instead of pronouncing it correctly, they would mispronounce it, and then they would like say, "Oh, I'm just gonna call you this because it's easier for me." Like that right there is a racist microaggression, right? Because it makes you feel othered, right? Ethnically. And I remember that moment where I was like, fuck, like that was my whole life, dog. And I remember those moments where you feel small because you're like, oh shit, I have like a ethnic last name, right? And so because we live in a white normalized society. So in those moments, man, like I remember being in that class and reading that, I was like, man, that's my whole fucking life, right? Like, so it was those moments where like critical race theory, you start learning about things you already know, but you put a name to it where you can articulate it. And dog, that's almost like, honestly, for me, homie, that was like giving me a weapon, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait, you're providing me with the diction and the articulation to be able to critically deconstruct my lived experience. Oh, dog, like it's so fucking empowering, dog. Like once I learned how to articulate from an academic perspective, like it was almost like I was blasting on the system, homie, because I was like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
fucked up." Like it's like my education, my degrees were like my weapons, and now I can blast back, homie. You know what I mean? At the system that's been historically oppressing me, dog, in my community. So that's why I love that education shit, man, because I'm a professor now, right? I teach race in Latin America, and um, what I teach is truth, dog, right? Like I was like, you can call it critical race theory, but all we're doing is um, we're critically deconstructing the ways in which power has been historically situated in our society. You can look at power from the lens of race. You can look at power from the lens of sexuality. You can look at power from the lens of gender, whatever it is. It's really an examination of power. And you look at who's had the power and who hasn't. And how did it get that way? Right? Like once you start learning that shit and seeing that shit and realizing like our circumstances, homie, and us normalizing feeling small and feeling othered wasn't random. That shit was part of a system that was manufactured, homie. So part of
Oh.
what I do is like understanding that it's like, fuck y'all motherfuckers, dog. My degrees is boom, homie. I'm giving it back to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Defining stuff is so important, dog, because it gives you the opportunity to have a conversation with the little homie, but it also has the opportunity to have a conversation with that one fool that never gets it in the
Oh
boardroom,
yeah,
in the fucking office. And you could,
it's
in that
so
code
important,
switch, right? The code switching, woo, it's beautiful.
dog. It is, man. It's so important, man. And that's why I tell you, O3, like the lens that you have and the perspective that you have, man, like that we all have growing up in the conditions that we grew up in. Like when we can merge that shit with academics and being able to articulate it, like you then have a skill set that very few people have that people will pay you for, dog. That's what our communities, I think, like we're so used to feeling ashamed that we came up the way that we did or we came from the backgrounds that we did. For me, it's like, nah, homie, flip the script on that. Like understand that your lived experience and you having that knowledge and wisdom and being able to apply that in a way as a professional, like I embrace and I lean into the hood part of me, dog. Like it's what's made me successful everywhere I go, right? Now I work in government as a fucking senior analyst, dog, and I have a lens on equity. It's like I view everything from a place and a perspective of equity. Like, how does this harm historically marginalized people? So when I see a report, when I see an analysis, when I see data, and I see that missing, I push it back and I say, this is what's missing. And they don't have that lens, dog, because they didn't go through that shit like we did.
Yeah.
I just went through it, but I learned how to name it. And learning how to name it, dog, now I push it back and they're like, now it's like, oh shit, that motherfucker has that skill set. So now I'm getting pulled in, dog. Now I'm at the table where they're like, hey, give them that equity shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hey, they either see you as a threat or they see you as a resource, dog. Ain't no in
straight up,
between.
man.
Ain't no in
Yeah,
between.
man.
I
Yeah,
remember
but
remember when you told me about Ad Promise? When you told
oh
me to start
yeah, I
switching it?
promise you.
And
Yeah,
I
man.
started using that at work and they're like, what is that?
That's a beautiful thing, man.
And then I stopped calling it at risk for years ago, dog. Ever since you told me about like even deconstructing the language that the textbooks tells you, like, you know, what the
Mm,
professors that never get it they tell you.
hell
Like
yeah.
even I
Hell yeah.
remember I'll insert one of my stories. I remember when I was in Ohio, I was a horrible student when I went to college. You know, nowadays, you know, I flirting with the idea of maybe going back and actually trying this time. But I remember when I was in sociology class and we were talking about income inequality,
Mm,
right? And then everybody in there, you know, there was some. I'm not gonna say that I wasn't the only poor kid, right? That came from a poor background or whatever, but I was the only fool that was raza, right?
uh,
And and I was the only fool that came from like over here. Right.
yeah.
So
South
everybody's
Central,
from
dog.
South Central down, right? You know, and I
Hell
used to
yeah.
rep it
Hell yeah.
1000% out there, but everybody was like talking about the book and the book this and the book that. I was like, man, fuck the book. Like I live this shit. Like, let me tell you
Straight
about
up.
experience. And then people were just like, I think that was part of the part of the charm, you know. That's why I became who I was over there because I was still kind of too caught up in the whole South Central shit, but I was so it was so easy for me to do that, to name and then kind of flip it on them. It's like, oh, you know that as code switching. I was talking about, I talk like a fool. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I could talk your
Yeah,
language
yeah.
too. And they were like, what the fuck? And so to some people, it was culture shock for them. For me, it was as easy as fuck because I didn't need the book to understand. Like sometimes I didn't even
Um,
read the book and I would have like fucking essays and my professors were getting my case like, look, the O3 was like, hey Omar, you can't just rely on your personal experience. And I was like, why
mm.
not? Like I'm a fucking case study, right? You know, I'm not a case study. They're
Hell
probably talking
yeah.
about me in this report right here, you know what I'm saying? And they
Yeah.
were like,
Yeah,
no,
you have that experiential knowledge, homie. Like nothing
but
beats it, man.
but
Like,
so nowadays, like if I ever went back to college, I would do the smart thing, right? And I'll use my lived experience, but also use, you know, what the textbook tells you and kind of use both of them and combine them
yeah.
to make one powerful experience on paper.
Nah, straight up, man. For us, dog, like uh there's something in black feminism called eloquent rage. And I'll tell you all three, like I think for every person of color, every person from the hood, dog, that goes to school and does that academic shit, and you start to learn, homie, that like it's not a coincidence that I was poor. It's not a coincidence that these systems have historically burdened families and communities like mine. Like the struggle that I've experienced was created, and as you learn the truth of that, like systemic oppression, it pisses you off, dog. Right? It pisses you off. You're like, fuck this shit, dog. So eloquent rage is like, all right, what are you gonna do with that energy? Right? What are you gonna channel that energy into? Like UMCing, homie. That's eloquent rage, dog. Right? When you write a book, when you do poetry, um, for me, learning about my people being oppressed is what made me want to pursue education and get the degrees that I did, because that was my way of saying fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? That was my way of saying fuck the system. Like, fuck that. I'm not going to be another statistic. So I go and I get my degree. I remember Jeff Duncan Andrade meeting him, and he's like, man, he said, the worst thing that these motherfuckers can do is give motherfuckers like us that paper. You know what I'm saying? Because it legitimizes us in their world. I mean, so I love that, man, when he told me that. Like, it legitimizes us in their world, dog. Like, I show up to LMU, homie, with my fitted on, dog, sometimes, and I'm in, with some Jordans on me in front of the class, and I'm talking my fucking critical race theory stuff, and I'm there, and I trip out because I'm like, man, I got the same experience, and I got the same motherfucking paper that the teacher and the professor in the next room, and the next room, and the next room, homie. So,
With a suit and tie, dog.
yep. No, they're there in fucking chanclas,
Oh
también, homie. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? But it's like, I don't have to fake the funk anymore, dog. Like, I can show up authentically me, and actually I prefer to show up authentically me because I want my students to know who I am. And I want the students to learn from me authentically, dog. So I bring my authentic self into the classroom, and then I ask them to be their authentic selves, just the way that you said you would when you were in class. Because when I bring them in and I have them be authentically themselves, homie, like, they show up differently, right? And they show up in a more connected and an authentic and truthful way, where it changes the dynamic in the classroom, homie, where I have like really positive relationships with my students. But that's on purpose, dog. That's no longer being ashamed of where you come from or how you dress or how you look. It's like, hey, homie, you legitimize me with that paper, so I'm legitimate. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take that away from me, dog.
I think I want to cover your master's degree and becoming a professor in the next episode. I want to go back to UC Santa Cruz before I run out of time.
Okay.
You show up UC Santa Cruz 2010, January 2010.
2010, yeah.
Who was Angel during college during his undergrad, dog? Because you come
Ooh,
in, this is you were a little older, right? Like in terms of everybody,
yeah.
like compared to everybody else.
I was like 25, going on 25 years old. He
Yeah.
was like 19, 20. And you know what? That fucked with me too, Othree. Like, I got there and I'm like, man, I'm old. You know what I'm saying? And it was cool. One of my boys, man, actually, I'm still really close with him. He was also a transfer student because, we're transfer students, dog. Like, we went to the JC and transferred in. And then I met a lot of people that were like 23, 24. So it wasn't a thing, but I was just always in my head about it. Like, I'm old as fuck, My brother used to, my brother used to call me Van Wilder, dog. He was like, you
Oh
fucking Van
shit.
Wilder over there. Uh, but I show up to UC Santa Cruz, right? And I'm older, dog. I'm in my early to mid 20s. And um, I get to UC Santa Cruz, and I remember getting there, man, and I felt out of place, dog. I was like, man, this ain't for me, dog. Like, I just felt like this feeling in the pit of my stomach. I was like, man, like, I don't belong here. You know what I'm saying? I had that culture shock. Like, I miss being at home. I miss the homies. I miss my family. Like, um, so it took me, actually, dog. I met somebody at UC Santa Cruz during my orientation. Her name was Rosie, man. I love Rosie, and she was a director of the Chicano Resource Center. And I go to orientation, homie. It's where you go and you get your schedule and you learn about the school and all that shit. And I go to orientation and I'm walking table to table, and I can see this like indigenous looking woman right there, right, standing with it says Chicano Resource Center. And of course I'm curious, dog, but I'm walking around and I can see her kind of looking at me. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to that table. So I walk up to her and she's like, what were you waiting for? You know what I'm saying? She's like, I've been waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you belong here at this table. You belong with us. And I was like, oh shit, like tell me more. And then she told me, she's like, there's gonna come a moment. She's like, she asked me about myself and I told her who I was. She's like, all right, look, when you start, there might come a moment where you feel like this isn't for you, where you don't belong here, right? And you want to go back home. She's like, here's my card. She's like, promise me that if that moment happens, when that moment happens, you come find me. And I was like, all right, took her information. She was cool as fuck. Sure enough, dog, like first, second week, I was like, man, fuck this place, dog. I don't belong here, right?
It's a
Like
big ass
I'm from
campus too, dog.
yeah, I'm from I'm like hood, dog. People around, even the Chicanos around me are like squares, dog. Like, they didn't live my life. They didn't have my perspective. They didn't dress like me. So I'm like, oh shit, what was that lady's name? And I looked for her card and I was like, all right. So I go and I look for it and I go to Chicano Resource Center. I'm like 2 weeks in and I knock on her door. Right. She remembered my name. She's like, Angel, like, come in, siéntate, right? Sit down. She's like, how you doing? Right. And I was like, I'm struggling. She's like, okay. She's like, tell me more. And I told her, I was like, I don't think this place is for me. Like, I want to leave, She's like, come with me. So she introduced me. Chicano Resource Center, there's a bunch of interns, like student interns on campus. She introduced me to a bunch of people. She's like, hey, this is Angel. He's from Santa Monica. It's his first semester. He's new. Welcome him, da 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 da. And then she introduced me to this cat named Marcelino, and she was like, there's an event tomorrow. It's called an Hombres Plática. And she's like, come to that event. And she introduced me to Marcelino. Marcelino told me about the event. He's like, yeah, man, it's like a lot of, Latino men. They just come and they talk. They come and chop it up, right? And I was like, oh, this fool knows what's up. Like, he speaks like me, right? So I was like, all right, cool. So I thanked her, and then sure enough, the next day I show up, and there's like, there's a handful, 6, 7, 8 dudes, and they were all from Los. They were all from out here, except maybe like one dude. And they all told me their story, and it sounded exactly like what I was going through in that moment. And so I could, I connected with them automatically. And man, that meeting kept me there, dog. Like, no lie. Like, I was so grateful for that meeting that I told them, I was like, hey, man, we should do this every week. And they're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So we started meeting every week. And then we ended up creating Hermanos Unidos, dog, like a student org on campus, just from that. Like, so Chicano Latino Resource Center, Rosie, Marcelino, like those spaces, man, and they're so important for Latino male retention in college, because there's a lot more mujeres in college. The further you go up, the more women there are in our communities, dog. So I remember, the Chicano Latino Resource Center, man, like that became a second home to me, dog. Like, I just kept going back. They would put events on campus, dope ass events like dances, fucking workshops, and I would go to all of them, dog. And I would see all the interns, and they all looked like they were homies, and they were well known in the Latino community. I was like, I'm gonna be a fucking intern, right? So I go to Rosie. I'm like, hey, Rosie, I want to be an intern. She's like, cool, like, you can apply every semester. Here's the application. And so I ended up becoming an intern, dog, and that shit changed my experience in college, man, because I was connected to that center, and yeah, then I became really well known, right? Like in the Latino community, made a lot of cool friends. I kind of like brought my shell down, dog. It was the first time I was Angel, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, I learned. I'll never forget it. '03. I remember, like, we had this event and we're going to the Ralphs down the street, and I always had it in my mind, like, I'm up north, homie. This is north end. Like, I know what time it is, dog. Like, it's different, right? Like, my LA hat. I just, had that gang culture. Like, I'm a South Sider, homie. You know what I mean? Like, so I remember walking into Ralph's, dog, and I see these cats, they looked hood, dog, and I was like, damn, like, you know, because you're used to out here. You see a cat that's hood, you kind of like keep an eye on each other, homie, just in case, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember walking into the store with you know other students from the resource center, and we're talking and shooting the shit, and they're not paying attention. They don't see what I see. I see two homies. They don't see that. They're just, and we're walking. And I remember the two homies. I had like a UC Santa Cruz sweater and an LA hat. They walked right by me. Bro. It was the first time like I didn't get looked at by homies. It's like, who is this fool? Like, where's this fool from? That kind of shit, right? And I remember Othree feeling in that moment. I was like, damn, this is what it feels like to be normal, dog. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it feels like to exist outside of that hood shit. I was like, damn, this is cool, dog. Like,
Yeah, that shit
that
was
was
probably relieving. That was probably relieving.
that was, yeah. I didn't get pressed. I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't gangbang, homie, but it's like, still, homie. Like here, I'm used to if you're in another neighborhood, dog, and there's fools that you gotta be mindful of that. You gotta be mindful of your environment. And there, I was like, wait, like, it was a moment where I was like, this isn't it, homie. This isn't what you're here for. You're in a college bubble, dog. That like you're outside of that shit. Like, all right, who is Angel outside of that shit? So I got really immersed in the Chicano Resource Center, Hermanos Unidos. Like the culture, homie, is what my department, like, that's what, you know, really helped shape my worldview in a different way, dog. Like I became socially active, social activism, social justice. Like my identity shifted from being hood and from being like strictly hip hop to like merging this new element of academia, of Chicanismo, of being a student, of the university life with those other identities. And it was a beautiful thing, dog. Like I loved it, man. I loved who I became. I became proud of it. I learned to be vulnerable. I learned, to me, like with that space with Miles Unidos, man, I learned what it meant to be a man, dog. Like we used to call it el nuevo hombre, right? Like that was our motto. Like, yeah, man, it was different, man. Like I had to unlearn a bunch of shit, and I got to do that at UC Santa Cruz. So when I came back home, like I was a different person. So when I came back home, I didn't engage in the same shit in the same way that I used to, because I had a different lens on life now. I had a different worldview. That doesn't mean I was a chump and I used to look at people. Nah, fuck that. Like I came back, had the same homies. It was still love, still acting a fool, but not to the same degree, because I understood now the implications of that lifestyle in a way that I hadn't in the past. I'm like, man, I got a motherfucking BA now, right? Like I have a chance to succeed in this world that's legitimized me through this degree. So I became really selective in the environments that I found myself in, the people that I surrounded myself with. Like my circle got smaller. I got really engaged in community activism in my neighborhood, youth advocacy. So yeah, man, like those were pivotal moments for me, dog, and it really changed like who I was.
When you would visit, when you would go to when you were a student in Santa Cruz, you would come down to.
Yeah, I would come down. It
Was
was
that
a
shit?
trip, like the
Was it
first.
difficult though? Like, cause I mean, it's so easy to fall back and just like start thinking a certain way.
Nah, you know
Huh?
what? It's funny. Like the first month, I came back every weekend.
Mm.
Right, like the first week, the first semester, I had a car, so I drove. I missed home, so I handle business during the week. Fucking Friday comes, it's like, man, I hop on the fucking freeway, 5 hours, 6 hours, I'm back home, kicking it at the pad. And then, you know, it was cool just being around the family, seeing the homies, like telling them what it was like. And then it was like, but it wasn't long enough for me to re immerse myself in. It was only weekends. So
To
it was like,
engage in some shit, dog. Yeah.
well, yeah, 1 day, 2 days, like, yeah, I'll smoke some bud or I'll kick it with some girls, whatever. But it's like, all right, now I got to go back to school. But the more time I spent at UC Santa Cruz, the more it became home for me. Where I stopped going home, dog, because it was like I
Yeah.
was partying, I was
Yeah.
fucking I was wilding out in a different kind of way, homie. Like I would party from Wednesday through Saturday. I mean, Sundays, what I would do is I would go to the library from 9 a.m. I'd get my coffee, my little muffin, dog, and I tell the homies there at college, right? I'd be like, I'll be at the library, dog, at McNair, right? So McNair, McHenry, I can't remember what the name of the fucking library was, but 9 a.m. I'd go to the library, dog. I'd have my little spot. I'd be there till fucking 8 p.m., dog. And I'd handle everything that I needed to handle, dog. So I as a student, as a reentry student, as a transfer student, dog, like I knew the opportunity I had, I wasn't gonna waste it. Because me going to UC Santa Cruz, it was like I had felt like that opportunity had passed me. So when they told me, hey, you're gonna live that life, you're gonna be a fucking university student, like when I got there as an older student, right? Like I acknowledge that like I was older, homie. So I wasn't taking it for granted in the same way other students were, right? Like I got straight A's, dog. It was the first time in my life I got straight A's on three at a fucking college, homie. Like because it wasn't hard for me, right? It was just like I was now learning the shit under my major that interested me, and college life was like, dog, I live on campus. I go to class for an hour and a half. Maybe I have a lab at night, but that's it, dog. 4 times a week. Rest of the time, I'm chilling. I'm fucking partying. I'm like, I was like, this is all I have to do. I was 24, 25 years old, dog. So I was like,
living the life again.
yeah,
At
I
a
was like,
different
dog,
level though. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, this is all I have to do. Like, I got a job at the Chicano Resource Center. So I had little chippers that like I got paid every week. Every week I had like $200 in my account, dog. I'd use that shit for partying, dog. You know what I mean? Like a dog, I had my routine. I loved it, homie. Like I was like, this is it. Like I felt so blessed, dog. And because of that, I approached it in a way that like I was able to cherish the opportunity. I did really well, and it provided me the opportunity to go to grad school later.
Random topics I want to throw at you about college. Uh, Fitness and diet. What was that like?
Oh, you know what's crazy, dog? So it's crazy. Once I knew I got into UC Santa Cruz, I was like, man, I'm not gonna be a fat boy at college, dog. I told myself that shit, dog. So I started running every morning. Before I had like 3 months before transferring, or 2 months. So by the time I got to UC Santa Cruz, I had lost some weight, and I remember telling myself that I was like, dog, you're not gonna be like I was like, you're gonna be the man at this school. Not like in a cocky way, but like you're not gonna relinquish yourself to the sidelines as this like shy. You're not gonna do what you did all through middle school and high school. I won't allow that. I told myself that shit. So I got to UC Santa Cruz, and I would run, dog. They had a dope ass field overlooking the ocean, dog, and the mountains. And I remember having you have your ID card and you get into the fucking dining hall. And I thought that shit was dope, man. Like I was like, the dining hall, that's fucking dope. Like I get to go eat whenever I want. So, but in the back of my mind, like I wanted to be in shape, I wanted to be fit. So that first semester, dog, I think I lost like 35 pounds, dog. Like going into there, and then once I got there, I just kept going because I wanted to have the kind of experience that I feel like I owed myself. You know what I'm saying? So like, so I was able to get fit and run and be mindful of my diet while still like I found a good balance. Like I had a routine where I would run like 4 or 5 days a week. I would just walk from the dorms, and then I had an apartment, on campus. I would walk to the field, and I'd go run 2-3 miles. That's all I had to do. Boom. And then I do burpees. I took that prison shit, dog. I do burpees. I remember one time one of my boys wanted to go visit me, dog, and we were about to party. He was from out here, right? He goes to visit me. He's like, man, this is dope, dog. I was like, hell yeah, come on. I was all excited for that to visit me. I said, hey, dog, I'm gonna take you to these parties tonight. Shit's gonna be cracking. I said, but before we go, 100 burpees. He's like, what? Yeah, I said, rutina, homie. He's like, what? I said, come on, dog, 100 burpees. He's like, fuck it, dog. So we fucking blasted him out, 100 burpees. Boom. You feel good, dog. Took a shower, cut our hair, dog. Went out, partied. Like, I made sure to have a nice balance, dog. Like, um, so that health shit, like, it wasn't hard for me, dog, because I liked running. So running was my thing, dog. So I would run, and then burpees I got from my brothers, dog, who were always in and out the pen, dog. So I knew that I could blast off 100, 150 burpees, and that would keep me solid. So I just mixed those two, and then what I would do is like I during the week I would be like mindful of what I was eating, and weekends is when I would allow myself to like indulge, But I had a good routine, man, because yeah, I'm the new kid on campus, dog. I see all these beautiful girls, and I'm like, man, like, and these are dope ass, empowered Chicanas, Latinas, homie. They're at the university, dog. So it wasn't like it wasn't like the hood ones, dog. You chicken chilling in the back alley, tell me. No disrespect to them, dog, but it was
It's a
like
different environment, dog. You just put it like that.
diff- di- different environment, dog. So it was dope because I wanted that shit. I was like, man, I want to be able to rap to some. I want to get to know people. So I went in as like a transfer student mid school year in the winter. So I was the new dude, right? And I started meeting people, and yeah, man, I made a lot of friends, and um, it was cool, man. It was a lot of fun, dog.
Were you showing off your graffiti skills while you were over there?
Not really, dog. Like that wasn't really I mean, I would do posters and I would like implement it sometimes, when I could, but I wasn't really focused on that like
Hmm.
that much. It was more
So you had already
just
given
kind
it
of
up
like
already? Like that kind of
not,
lifestyle?
I mean, that shit's always with you, dog. You never give it up, like like even now, dog. As a professor, sometimes I'm at my desk, fucking doing little throw ups on my paper.
What time like
Um,
going out into like getting the walls and like
oh yeah, 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 for
doing that,
sure, for
being
sure.
out in the
Yeah,
streets type shit, you know?
yeah, I was in college, dog. Like I knew the risk, I was like, like it didn't call to me in the same way no more. Like my world was a different world. Like I was in a different environment. Graph, all that shit wasn't it right there. It was just more like, you know, being a student, fucking partying, meeting people, creating this new organization. Like that's kind of who I was, dog. So I really embraced that aspect and that identity.
Any stories of racial profiling or out any like racist incidents?
On campus, not
Yeah.
really, man, because I mean, you always feel like I remember getting there and being like, man, it's a white school. You know what I'm saying? Like it's what it was. Like the student demographic was predominantly white. But Santa Cruz is one of those schools, man, where like people are socially conscious. So like um there wasn't like outright racist shit that I remember. I remember like doing protests for DACA and Dreamers, shutting the school down and doing, activism in that way because it was important, right, for our communities. But it wasn't, I never felt discriminated against out there in that way, just because the environment was so progressive and people were socially conscious that it was love, like my academic program, sociology and Latin American Latino studies, like my professors were dope as fuck, super conscious. The students over there, don't matter what race you were, they were all super conscious. So like it was a dope environment to be in to get into like social activism because the entire campus, like people were really conscious.
Mm. When I talk about my college experience, it's a thousand like it's a way different than a lot of people's, especially like people that look like us, talk like us.
Mm,
Um, because I went to a school out there, super small liberal arts, but I was dealing with a lot of personal stuff. I'd rather try to fit in where I didn't belong than come back home and look like a dropout
mm,
or look like I transferred. So I did the whole Greek life thing. Was that
yeah.
ever
But
something
there's
that
nothing
and
wrong with that. Like
no, but see,
Greek
like
life was dumb.
at that point, and I remember this because I remember I sent you a message almost like for approval. I was like, "Hey, Angel, I don't know if you remember this. Like, hey, Angel,
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
this is something for me to do?" And you were just like, "Hey, bro, just do what you do you." And that's what you told me.
Straight
Do
up.
do you. And whatever happens, happens. But just do you. Don't let nobody ever tell you at the end of the day, like you're always gonna be you and carry
Hell
your
yeah.
experience. But when you were in college, was that ever something that like ever came across your mind, or you were just like chalice 100%?
Nah, I wasn't close to it, man, because you see it on TV and shit, and you're like, that shit looks dope, you know? So
That's what got
I
me.
remember when I remember when I got there, I was like 2 weeks in, and I had this one cat in one of my classes. He used to wear his like, his Letterman jacket for his fraternity. And the dude, after class, he like walks up to me. He was cool, right? And he was like, "Hey, man, like, he's like, oh, I wanted to talk to you about something." I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I'm part of a fraternity, man. Like, he's like, man, you're really cool, and I think you would fit in really well with us, you know." And I was like,
Selling you the
like,
dream.
yeah, yeah. He's like, "Come check us out, man. You should rush, or And I was like, "Nah, man, that's not really my thing, dog. Like, I'm cool, you know." Even though I was curious, though, I'm not gonna lie, I was curious. I was like, "Yeah, it sounds dope, you know." But and then he's like, "Come on, man, we're having this party. You go meet all the brothers and like he's like it's called an interest party. Like people that are interested, they get to know people, and then if you're interested and the brothers like you, then you get an invite to rush, right, to try and be a part of the fraternity." He's like, "You just meet us at this hill and somebody will pick you up." I was like, "Nah, I'm not doing all that shit, dog." And he was like, "Dog, I'll pick you up." He's like, "I'll fucking go to your pad and I'll pick you up." I was like, "Fuck it, you gonna pick me up and take me to a party?" Like, fuck it, let's roll, dog. You know what I'm saying? So he picked me up and we go to a party, and I remember getting there and we get off the car and he was super cool, and everyone's super cool, but I remember looking around and I'm like, these fools think they're hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, these fools ain't hard, dog. Like, the life that I lived, that shit was hard. I mean, so I looked at these cats and I'm like, I was kind of like, why y'all acting like that? Like they're like tough guys, really like, male bravado, machismo shit. Like, so I was kind of like, nah, dog. Like I ain't like these fools are chumps to me. You know what I'm saying? Like no disrespect, dog. They were
Yeah.
they were cool, but I was like, I didn't like that they were trying to be hard. I didn't like that shit. So anyway, I met a bunch of people, and then they shot me like an envelope, and they were like, congratulations, um, where I was an interest member, right? Like they wanted me to rush. So I remember getting in, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." But I called homie and I was like, "Hey, thanks, man, but I'm good, dog." He's like, "Oh man, come on, like da da da." And I was like, "Nah, dog, like it's cool." And I'm glad I went to that party, dog, because I was like, man, I felt like I was back in the hood, dog, right? Because they were like, they were all like, I felt like I was with the homies in the hood, except they were on some college shit. But they were trying to be like the homies in the hood, but they weren't. They were like the motherfuckers that couldn't be that, so they were trying to be that in college. That's how I felt. So I was like, nah, man, I'm good, So
That's
I
why I
became cool
explain
with
it.
them.
Corporate gangs. That's why I explained it to people. It's just a corporate gang, dog.
Straight up, right? It had that same vibe. So I was like, man, I got that lifestyle back home. I don't need that shit here. So uh we ended up forming our own group, Hermanos Unidos. So Hermanos Unidos was born in Berkeley, right, in the 80s. And there it's more of a fraternity. But remember I told you that like we would go and have our pláticas every week. So we were meeting, and then we had decided like, hey, next week bring somebody else with you. So we started growing just organically, and then one of the cats that was in that space, his girl went to Berkeley, so he would always go kick it with her. And he's like, yo, he came back to one of our meetings. He's like, man, I was in Berkeley and I kicked it with these dudes called Hermanos Unidos, and I told them about what we do, and he's like, yo, that's what we do. You should become an interest group, right? Like a familia. That's what we call them, familias. Instead of a chapter, that's a familia. So he's like, y'all want to do that? And I was like, man, that sounds dope. So we ended up we ended up meeting with one of the OG founders, and that was part of the process. He meets with the school and he essentially approves or denies. Um, and if they approve you, you get put on a list. And they every semester there was different schools that would be there were interest groups, and they have to do all these things to become a formal group. So we met and we met up with homie in South Jose, and he looked at us and he's like, "Man, you motherfuckers remind me of us when we were in Berkeley in the '80s." Like he's like, "Hell yeah, I love." He's like, "I love what you guys got going on here, and I want you guys to. I would love for this to be Hermanos Unidos, Santa Cruz, because it didn't exist in Santa Cruz." So we took that energy back, and they guided us for that whole year. We had to do our bylaws and create the structure, and so part of my college career was just establishing Hermanos Unidos at UC Santa Cruz, and we became an official familia, dog. So that was really dope, man. By the time we were established, it was about 40, 50 of us, and they're still there, dog. They're still there, right? That's a trip. Like, think about that. Like 15 years later, they're still there. So it was cool because I remember we walked out of a meeting one time, dog, and it was the Hermanos interest group. People were getting to know who we were, like on campus. And I remember seeing the frat dudes. They were walking up because they were going to use our meeting room after us, and we were walking out, and they were like, "Who are you guys?" Right? Like they're like, but one of them was like, "Who the fuck are these fools?" Like, try to be hard, and I was like, "What, dog? You know what I'm saying?" Like, I didn't fuck around, dog. That hood shit was always with me, dog. Like, and he's like, "Oh, no, 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 who are you guys?" And one of the homies was like, "Oh, we're hermanos," And they're like, "Hermanos, what is that?" And he was trying to be a smartass. And then, but we kept on, and once we became an official familia, like they all hit us up and like showed us love, and we became part of like the Greek system, even though we weren't an official fraternity. So that was more my style, man. Instead of formally becoming a fraternity, we became a culturally based Latino male retention group on campus. And yeah, man, that group like flourished and it blossomed, and it was really cool to be a part of, man.
So you graduate from UC Santa Cruz. What was your major?
I majored in sociology and Latin American Latino studies.
So you get your BA, right?
Get my BA.
We'll talk about life after college and in the second episode, because I do want to end this with
Hell yeah.
the conversation that which is kind of how we met, right? Over some music stuff. You kind of covered hip hop. You already talked about hip hop. Hip hop is the culture, right? We already talked about graffiti. We'll talk about the rap in a bit. Final like topics of graffiti. What was like the biggest wall you hit up? Did you ever hit up a
Ooh,
wall like biggest
fuck
fuck?
yeah. So I remember shit, I think we were in high school though. I'm not sure if I think we were in high school or just graduating high school, but we had, I was from Kansas Street, man. I was from this crew called KSP, and we had beef with these other cats. And on Lincoln, dog, right by like Lincoln and Ocean Park, there was this rooftop, a big ass rooftop, and them cats had just hit up that rooftop. I had dope throw ups. Like that's what I was known for, the bubble letters throw ups. So one of the homies was like, "Hey dog, let's go riding tonight." Like, like fuck it, let's roll. So you leave at 3 in the morning to pick us up. We hit up a bunch of spots, and then we kind of saw that we remembered that spot. We're like, let's go hit that shit, right? So we go fucking the alley, jump the building, and then one of the homies like lays down and he's the lookout. And so what I did is I did the outline, and my homie came and like filled it in, right? So I did each letter, but we did a big I did KSP 3 times over these fools. And it was so dope, dog, because it was like big, the letters were dope, and this fool helped me do the fill-ins and the coloring and shit. So we did it, and then we left, dog. By like the next day, homie, oh man, people were blowing us up. Like, man, that shit is hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was so excited, dog. Like the adrenaline rush. That's what graffiti was all about, man. It was just like name recognition, dog, being known, And so I remember people asking me, like, man, was that you? And I was like, nah, unless it was the homies, but I was like, nah, that wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? But that was the biggest. It was a rooftop, dog, like huge rooftop. I just put the crew over 3 times, over and over, and it was dope because I slapped it over some cats we had beef with, and it was a dope ass style, man. And you could see it, dog. Like driving by, you could just see it. It was huge. So I was young, man. I remember doing that. It just gave me the adrenaline rush, man. So that was one of my big hit ups, man. But like going to the motor yards, and then I remember, being asked to do pieces for like businesses for like different. Like I did it for the PY. I did one of the first pieces for them. I did one for this other teen center. So I was kind of known around that, but it was just a lot of fun, man. Like just being known as like a decent graffiti writer because I was learning. I was dope. There's a lot of cats that it's dope because there's a lot of cats that I started with that are now fucking
Legends.
famous graph.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Much respect to them, dog. But yeah, man, just the love of it, man. I loved graph, man. Like it was so dope, man. But I kind of went away from it like after college because it was just it wasn't worth the risk anymore to me at that point where it was just like, man, if I get this on my record, it'll fuck up my holidays and all that other shit. So I still love it though, right? Even like as old as I am, like it's always in you, dog. It's a part of you.
I never got to do it, but I'm a big fan of it. That was never my thing. I was always the rapper, but a lot of homies
Yeah,
did that
yeah.
shit. I always appreciate the pieces, especially out here, dog. Like the resurgence in the past couple years, everything's so bombed out, dog. Like it's just crazy, man. Um,
Yeah, it is super dope, man. Like the culture is a beautiful thing, man. I met a lot of dope artists. And then, there's a lot of like you gotta respect everybody from like the young cat that people are like, oh, they're toys. Like they don't matter. I mean, they're passionate, dog. Like I knew cats that weren't that good, but they were fucking up everywhere, dog. And you had to respect that shit. Like lettering was kind of whack. The fucking style was like
but they
needed
were
work,
down.
but they were down, homie. And not only that, they were up, homie. So like they were up everywhere. So you'd be like, man, much fucking respect to that cat, So it's not always about how good you are. It's just about like how much love do you have for the game, and you demonstrate your love and appreciation for it by getting up. You know what I'm saying?
I know a lot of graffiti artists eventually end up, going into more of a professional, like art professional
Yeah.
world. They do like galleries or they turn into like fashion moguls or whatever. They start their own clothing brands. When you were young or at any point, was that something you explored?
Nah, like I wanted to be an MC. You know what I mean? Like I used to I used to rap. I used to perform. That was my thing. Like the graph thing, like I didn't want to be an artist. Like I
Mm.
just love graph. Like I love getting up. I love having dope letters. But like I didn't feel like I was an artist because I had dope lettering, dog, but I couldn't draw for shit, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't draw someone's portrait. Like I wasn't that talented, but I had some dope letters, dog. And but I got into graph and hip hop at the same time, and I got into MCing, and like that's something that I would pursue over graph. It's like I love being on the mic, recording, doing shows. Like I love doing all that.
I guess this is how we get into the rap stuff, the emceeing. What was well before that? I mean, obviously we're blessed to be influenced by two different cultures, right? The culture, the music, the sound, way different. We have the corridos, the different regions of Mexico. And then you have American culture, right? Impacted largely because we grew up out here, black culture, right? Um, music wise, like what was going on? Like if you set a CD player right now and you choose 5 songs from the Mexican side and 5 songs from like the hip hop, like rap side, what would it be?
Yeah. Ooh. Hip hop. Man, it depends on what. era in my life. I'm talking, but like the Below the Heavens, man, the Blue in Exile. I fucking love that album, man. Like I got that shit up here. One of my boys bought it for me, man. That I think that one, Below the Heavens, Moment of Truth, um, by Gangstar. Um, I really like Merce, man, for a long time. Um, any specific like the 316 album was dope, but Little Brother, man. Remember Little Brother, Fonte, Little
Fonte, yeah.
Brother? Oh man, Little Brother. That like I hear that fool shit and it reminds me of me, dog. Like, because he's also like academic. He went and did school shit, but they're dope MCs, man. The Little Brother, so that group. And Evidence, man, EV, man, that was my favorite rapper, dog. Like, Dilated Peoples, like I would blast that shit forever, man. And then I think Wu-Tang, man, because Wu-Tang is their style of rap is what I studied in order to have diction, right? In order to flow. Like, I remember when I got hip to Wu-Tang, like the Wu Syndicate and all the little chapters that they had. Um, I got obsessed with them, man. I had them on a tape and I would just play it over and over and over again. And once I got into MCing, like for me, it was like you gotta have diction, right? So it was like with them, it was like they were talking about some shit no one even understood, right? Shaolin and
The
they were
stars and
talking about
shit.
some Eastern religion,
Yeah.
cosmology, that kind of shit. And I didn't understand that at the time, dog, but I remember being like, I got to get my diction up. So I had to read, and reading made me a better MC. And I attribute that to Wu Tang, On that Spanish shit, man, like I think growing up, I remember my uncles and my dad fucking playing dominoes and bestiando, homie. And I remembered a distinct voice that they would always bump, dude. And I just liked the voice. I never knew who it was. And it wasn't until we had fucking Napster, dog. Remember Napster? I don't even remember. That might have been pre you, dog.
I
But
was a little kid,
Napster,
man.
all right, Napster was like,
I know what it is though. Yeah.
yeah, you would download music, right? I started looking up different artists in Spanish, and I was just looking for that voice. And finally, I heard it was Antonio Aguilar, dog.
Oh
And I
yeah.
remember, like, I was like, Antonio Aguilar con tambora, homie. Like, I was like, that's it. It just took me back to my childhood. So I fucking downloaded all Antonio Aguilar shit. Chente, of course. Yeah, like I like the old school shit, like Jose Alfredo Jimenez, Cornelio Reina, um, Javier Solis, like them old cats. That's what I grew up with, dog. Chalino Sanchez, of course, right? Like, and then you get into the narco corrido shit that, today's age.
Underground, yeah. Or
Yeah, that
nowadays
shit,
too, right?
yeah, that shit slaps, dog. Like
Yeah.
they're talking about some dope shit, right? So I got homies that like bump that shit. I'm not really into it like that, but like if I'm kicking it with them and I hear a dope ass song, I'm like, hey, what song was that? And I'll fucking download that shit and add it to the playlist, dog. So, but those are my two worlds, right? Like the old school Spanish and then even hip hop, man. Like LA hip hop really influenced and shaped me, man, because I thought it was so dope to like support LA artists, man. Merce, EV, Dilated Peoples, Blue and Exile, like, you know, but the I really felt like hip hop and shit. I might catch some slack for this. Was like an East Coast thing, dog. Because I felt like the West Coast was gangster rap shit. So for me, it was grounded in Wu Tang, Nas, Jay Z, early Jay Z. I can't stand Jay Z now, but but really, Gangstar, man. I loved Gangstar, dog.
What about
So
G
those
Funk?
were the punks that I fuck with.
You fuck with give me some G Funk names you were bumping back in the day, some gangster rap.
Oh, MC Breed, RBL Posse. Um, remember that
That
song, Bluebird,
There's a
on my
bluebird on my
shoulder?
shoulder, can I kill it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that shit
yeah.
goes hard, dog. You know what I'm
Fuck it.
saying?
Or even
Uh,
the because I know obviously this isn't even my world or whatever, but the north and the south, right? But the Bay Area food, it don't matter, dog. Like if it's banging, now we gonna bump that shit.
Yeah, yeah. I never really like when I was young, the West Coast shit, I was into like Proper Dose, man, because I knew them, right? Like they knew my brothers and shit. So Ernie G, dope ass DJ, fucking Frank V. I think Frank V was one of the most talented MCs, like rappers, dog. Like so smooth with it, man. And he repped the culture in ways I feel like no one else has, dog. Sick Jacket, oh, that motherfucker's on some other shit, man. He's one of my favorite artists. Man. I got to meet and perform in front of him, man. So that was a dream come true, man. But yeah, like the gangster shit, man. Like that's kind of what I was on back in the day. Just that MC Pooh. I don't know if you remember MC Pooh,
Yeah.
man. Hit him up, like straight gangster shit, right? Pac and fucking NWA and all the shit that you had out here. Like that was kind of a must, man. I went from bumping that when I was young to once I got into graph and hip hop, I started bumping like the East Coast shit. And then I came back to West Coast, but it was like West Coast underground hip hop,
Yeah.
the Visionaries and those kind of artists.
Last question about Sonic before we actually get into the writing of music. In the mid 2000s, lo morrió, um, probably like middle school era, I got deep into Chicano rap, like
Um,
super high power, Mr. Criminal, Mr. Capone, Big Locote, like super banged out fool, like fools call fools now, like that's
yeah,
the influence in the 2000s, the mid 2000s. And I
yeah.
know you had mentioned Proper Dose, but I even saw Proper Dose as like more hip hop, like
Uh, yeah.
right, then less
It's
Chicano
funny.
rap.
I didn't like Chicano rap, though. I
No?
never liked it. Like I didn't consider it proper dose Chicano rap. I just thought they were like you're saying, they were hip hop because they were dope about telling the truth of our lived experience, dog. But like Mr. Capone and Little Rob, I fucking hated that shit, dog. Like to me, that shit was like I don't know, it was too theatrical for me. It was too like manufactured. At least that's how I felt. Or maybe it's because when that shit came about, I was super into hip hop, so like I couldn't get with it. I never was able to get with that shit. Like Chicano rap, I don't fuck with it at all, dog. I never liked it. Like I think Proper Dose, of course, and fucking Conejo. Like, but if you listen to Conejo, he's hip hop too, dog. Like he's a
He was different.
lyricist, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like I can't I wouldn't even put him in the Chicano rap category. I put him more in like the Sick Jackin kind of category where I
Underground
think
LA rapper. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's hip hop, dog. So yeah, I never really got with the Chicano rap scene. Maybe because at that time, I was super into like the hip hop scene, so I thought it was a little corny. I couldn't fuck with it. But I did like Proper Dose, Conejo, like you bump some of their shit, dog. You feel hood, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, Conejo, he wrote a lot of his shit when he was on the run. Like, how hard is that? That's hard as
yeah,
fuck.
man,
But
he's
I
got a
think
crazy ass story.
we got into here, my cousins, my older brother. I wanted to be like them, and they got into when they were into NWA, I was into NWA. So I got like the NWA's greatest hits for when I graduated from fifth grade. Well, my parents didn't speak English; they didn't get it,
Damn,
right? But then when I went to middle school, my cousin started listening to Brownside, and Brownside is from down the block from where I live at, and
órale.
they were signed to Easy to Ruthless, and that's
I
how I kind
remember
of got
Brownson.
into like that's how we got into Chicano rap. But then um, once I got into Tupac and discovered Immortal Technique and Mobb Deep in high school,
Oh,
it was a wrap.
more yeah, yeah. It's crazy how once you like pivot, you're like, oof. You just go down the rabbit hole of that kind of genre of
And then I
music,
stopped
dog.
listening to Chicano rap. I was like, nah, this shit whack, dog. Like this shit is.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, dog. Yeah,
I still listen to
that's a
Brownside though, but other stuff, nah,
yeah.
yeah, no way. But let's take us from the beginning. When'd you start rapping? How did that come about?
High school, man. We used to, so I used to ditch class and fucking,
Just to go to the lab?
I used to ditch class just to go to the lab. Yeah, dog. I thought about that verse too. We, so, we used to go and smoke bud, but my homie, he would always just play instrumentals, right? And we would get into like a cipher, and we would smoke weed, and he was older than us, right? So he had already graduated. So, I was like a junior, senior in high school. And people were starting to rap at my school back then. And I never came out as an MC in high school. Like I was just too shy. But I loved doing it, right? So we would go to the lab. We used to call it the lab, and he had 2 turntables, and he would just put on an instrumental. And I used to love rapping to like Gangstar, fucking Discipline, those kind of beats, So what he would do is he would be like, write your verse. So he would make us write our verses. He was an older homie. We would write verses, and he taught me about like 16s and how to get on a beat. And so once I learned about that, we would all just like get high and rap, dog. And one of my homies, he was a pusher, dog. Like he would always slang, dog. So he pulled me aside and he was like, "Hey man, like I'm gonna build a studio in my house, dog. Like I want to form a group." He's like, "You're talented." He's like, "I love this shit. Like I want to be a producer." And I was like, "Hell yeah, dog! Like let's do it." So that's when we started 27 Click, dog. That was like one of the first rap groups I was a part of. But yeah, the homie had a studio, and he had like this little foldable door that is this foldable kind of booth that his dad built from in the corner of his room, and a mic and little MPC, dog, small fucking. So he would make his beats, and I learned about how to compose a song, and so I remember, dog, I'll never forget, the first song we ever did was called "The Message," and we just flowed about like our life, So that was my first verse I did, and we put it out. We put it out in the hood, and that shit got a positive response, dog. Like people fucked with it, So we're like, let's put more music out, dog, So we started rhyming and.
So you're just giving out CDs, or what? How did that work back then?
Yeah, we would burn it. So we only had that one song. It was one song, The Message, and it was a couple of us on that song, and we burned it, and it was about our crew, and we fucking started passing it out, dog.
Yeah.
Shit got out, and people liked that shit. So, and people were also like, "Damn, that's dope. How'd you get it on a CD?" Like my boy that motherfucker was like, he's dope, man. He's super successful, man. Much love to him right now. But he was like, if he had his mindset on something, he was gonna do it. So created a little studio, and then I started working at the park, and we had a formal studio, and we had a music studio, and I linked up with Surreal, right? And man, Surreal is such a fucking talented producer, man. So I linked up with Surreal and Manny B, right?
This one they were young too.
They were young, dog. But so I used to work there, and we're all into hip hop. And then once they got a little older, they graduated. We started taking the shit seriously, dog. So we would like stay after hours and record. But I remember what got me on the map is I did a track called 150 Bars and Running. And it's where I put 4 songs together. 100 bars.
The 10 minutes of funk?
10 minutes of funk, dog. Yep. Yeah. So I had heard that from The Game. The Game did that. 150 bars and running. And I was like, that's a dope ass idea. So I told Surreal, I was like, Surreal, give me these 4 beats. And I loved what the fuck's his name? I'm spacing out on his name. Producer. Help me with him. North Carolina. He's fuck with Lil Brother.
Ninth Wonder.
Ninth Wonder, dog.
Yeah.
I fucking love Ninth Wonder, dog. So gave Surreal this 4 Ninth Wonder beats. He did his thing. Put these 4 tracks together, and it was 10 minutes long. He's like, "You gonna do a 10-minute verse?" I said, "Dog, I want to do 100 bars, dog." Like I thought that was the dopest shit. So I wrote, he played it, and I wrote him, dog. I just fucking wrote, and then I got in there and I spit it, and it was the dopest shit ever. No one had done that shit, dog. So I burned a bunch of copies, and I put it out there, and people fucked with it. And then I put it on like on MySpace, dog. Like people like fucked with it. Mm. And that shit, I think that's when people were like, "Oh, this fool got skills. Like he's in an MC." Like I remember this one cat hearing it, and he's like, "Man, you got a mature flow." That's what he said. You got a mature flow. And I appreciated that, dog, because what I thought he meant was like like you're telling a story. And that's what I did with my rap, man. Like I told my truth, dog. Like, yeah, when I was young, I was talking shit and saying stupid shit, you know. But as like I got older in my, early to mid 20s and late 20s, and I was still emceeing, I saw music and hip hop as an opportunity to tell my truth. Like it was therapy for me, dog. Like I didn't know about therapy. I never went to therapy at that age, dog. So I'd fucking put pen to pad and just, I had this verse. It says, the song's called Eternity Bleeding. It goes,
Banger.
Eternity Bleeding, right? And I say something like, it said, why does my genius live within misery? Because when I'm down and I'm out, I see the channel with ease. Every forgetful memory that exists within me, like when you're depressed, homie, that's when my illest verses would come out, dog. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was therapy, dog. Like I would fucking put pen and pad and put my emotion and my truth behind it, and I get in the booth. And what was dope is that people resonated with that shit, right? That's why I kept doing it, because I would play that shit for people and they'd be like, damn, dog, like I feel that shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. So I was fortunate enough to do my own album, ANHEL, Young, Gifted, and Brown. Put it out, I think, in 2014. Linked up with Manny B, Surreal, Redefine, Smooth Brother, Pico Reps. Did my thing with them for a little bit. We were able to like, you know, we did a show. You had to sell tickets to get on the ticket. We did that for this one show at Universal City Walk, and it's where I met Sick Jackin. But Sick Jackin's DJ, his name was Razai. He was from SM. This was Santa Monica, so he saw us and he was all excited to see us, dog. And we get in to get on the mic, and he's like, "Hey, dog, you fools are dope." Like I didn't know this was coming out of the neighborhood. I was like, "Yeah, man." Like, so he showed us love, and just through our connections, like Smooth had connections, Manny had connections. We started doing shows. Like we did a show with Micah Nine. We did a show Rock Cam, dog. That was dope. City Walk, like I think that was the biggest show. And what was dope is like when we have a show, like our people would come out and support us, dog. Like no lie, dog. Like we would open up for people, and we'd have that shit more cracking than the headliner, dog. Like and I'm a little disappointed that we stopped, man, because I feel like we had some magic. And part of it was my fault, dog. Like I got in my head, dog. Like once I turned 30, I was like, man, I'm too old to be doing this shit. Like I regret saying that to myself, man, because you're never too old to do what you love, dog. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like focused on the school shit and work, and I kind of chose that path. And once I had my album, I was like, man, my dream came true. I had my album, I did shows, I got out there on the scene, I proved that I could do it. So that was enough for me, dog. And I just focused on my career and kind of stepped away from music.
When you were still doing the 2-7 click, did you ever put together like full mixtapes or like decide to do an album, or was it just straight singles off the rip?
Um, we have a few songs together with 2-7 Click. Yeah, we have a CD.
You still have it?
Um, I have the songs. I have it in one of my old computers, dog. I'll send them to you via email, dog. I have the songs, dog. So those songs are a trip, because it was like I was still young in my early 20s, so I was still rapping about the shit you rap about when you're young, as opposed to what I was rapping about later on. But yeah, I still have an album, man. I don't have the hard copy. We made hard copies. But I still have the album in my fucking hard drive, though.
So you were releasing music on MySpace Music when they had that platform, and then SoundCloud came
And
around, right?
MySpace was cracking, dog. Yeah, MySpace was a way to like send people your music. We had SoundCloud. Yep. That was
Did
another way to do it.
you record any music videos?
I did, man. I remember the Game Changers. We did that one with Pico Reps.
I remember those, but I'm talking about early on in your music career. No
Nah,
music
I
videos
never did. No, I did like a mini documentary um,
for the
when I
song.
was at UC Santa. Yeah, at UC Santa Cruz. I wrote a song for my brother who was busted, and one of my boys heard it in Santa Cruz, and he was like a film major, and he was moved by it. He's like, "Yo, man, like I can see the scene," and he's like, "Let's do a little mini video for it, like more like a documentary, though." Like, I was like, "Fuck it." So it was like I don't know, 10 minutes long or like 7 minutes. So it wasn't just a music video. It had like he added the elements of like filmmaking to it. It was pretty dope, man. And yeah, it was on YouTube for a little bit, and then something happened with it where it had gotten taken down.
I remember that shit.
You remember that one? That was
Yeah. I remember there
I
was like
had
a
Lil Manny
video.
B and
Yeah.
Miklo in that shit.
I remember a scene specifically. We had like four dudes standing in front of a garage, like King of the Hill. And so
Oh
this
yeah,
fool
yeah,
pulls up on a bike and it's like, I forgot what else is like. It's like a little Morrillo playing you or something like that. It was like, hey, get in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
It was Manny. Remember we highlighted
Yeah.
Manny. It was like Manny. It was like Manny being pulled by hip hop and his passion and that gangster shit. So that's what that was. Remember, like the homies. Yeah, I
Yeah,
had my cousins. I had the homies actual play, dog. Like my brothers were out
yeah.
there. Like it was actually gangsters, dog, in that film. But it was dope, man. It was family, dog. People showed up and showed us love. I even put my little nephews in that film. It was really dope, man. I wish I still had a copy of it, but it was an opportunity for me to tell my truth, man. Like I have my older sister, man. I'll never forget. She loved my music, dog, and shout out to her, man. And she's like, I got to know you through your music, you know. I was
That's
like,
crazy.
man, that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
powerful, you know. So like people can know you in an intimate way as long as you're telling your truth. And I feel like that was my goal in my album, and I was able to do that.
One of my favorite songs of all time that you drop, Who the Fuck Is This?
Who the fuck is this?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
a
I used to
banger
have
right
that shit
there.
every time I go on SoundCloud, I still listen to that song. Um, but
Yeah,
when did
that shit is so hard.
the
It's
idea
on
for the album
iTunes too, by the way. You can look it up on iTunes.
the idea for the album, how did that come about? Like the name and
Uh,
the theme.
man, I just thought Young, Gifted, and Brown was so dope, right? Like, that's I think Rafi Pagan or Joe Batan. Joe Batan.
Pretty
He
sure it's
has an
Joe Bataan.
album.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Batan has an album called Young, Gifted, and Brown. He has a song Young, Gifted, and Brown, and I felt like that encapsulated like the message that I was trying to get out there, you know. So it was dope, man, because I was able to like all the beats that you hear, like I personally selected them, dog. Like these were samples that I wanted, and I would just send them to Surreal and be like, "Hey, dog, flip this for me," and he would do it. And actually, Othree, he has songs, dog, that never made it to the album, dog. Like the Somebody Please, I flipped that one. I made a song out of that. I had like 3 or 4 songs that he has that I don't know what happened to them, dog. But
There's
um,
still a video on YouTube where he's flipping a beat for you at the PY. It's for the
oh
song
yeah,
what song is it? Is it Que
Lord
Te
Hear Me
Llame?
Holler.
Lord Hear
Yeah,
Me
no,
Holla.
it's Lord Hear Me Holler. Oh, that's so banger. Oh, I still watch it sometimes. Oh, he's cutting it up.
And you're
But
standing on top of the couch, no? You trying to film him? Yeah.
yeah, every song though that I made, like I send them the beat because what I wanted to do is tell my story through my album. Um, so I felt like I did that, man. Like, you know, and that it's funny because I'm a fan of my own shit, dog. Like I feel like I'm like, man, I would bump this shit, right? Even if it was, of course, you gotta be a fan of your own music, dog. But like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun making that album, man. And so I hit up Surreal. He produced it for me. For me, like Young, Gifted, and Brown, like just that moment in my life, I felt like that's who I was. And damn, you're taking me back, dog.
I remember
So,
there was a I always bring this story up. There was a time you had just put together Soul Pain
oh
and
yes, okay.
at this point now I'm already me at the PY, right? I'm already there. And which I'll talk about that in a bit, how that came about. Um, and you're like, hey, check this out, but don't put this anywhere. Don't upload it anywhere. And me being me, I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, Angel loves me. I'm not gonna, you don't care. I was like, I'm not gonna put it online, but I'm gonna put it on the CD mix. And I remember we went to you took me and a couple other youth to go see Murs at the House of Blues.
Oh, yep,
There was
yep.
a
I
couple of
remember
us.
that.
Natalie was there. You, Santi Real, Chris. I forgot who else was there, but you just y'all scooped me up in front of my pad, and you threw in the CD, and the first song that pops up was "Soul Pain," and you turn around, you're just like, "Hey, I told you not to put this shit anywhere." And I was like, "Hey, dog."
You're like, I gotta bump that
I
shit.
gotta bump that shit, but I remember because well, we could talk about it now. So in 2011, I stepped into the PY. I didn't get to meet you until I started my internship at the PY, which, if people were wondering how the fuck somebody from this side of South Central met somebody like you, my whole, that's a whole different episode.
Yeah.
But I go into the booth, right, and I hear about the PYFC All Stars, and
Oh,
and I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
I met I met you, but I didn't know that you were a rapper,
yeah, yeah.
and
Because I
and we're
worked there.
because you worked there, right? And I was like, oh, this was cool, he talks about this shit, and he's preaching Chicano studies, and he's all about hip hop, and I remember after we recorded oh no, after I wrote my ethnic studies verse, you're like, hey, Othree, you want to go perform?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck you mean? And I was like, yeah, let's go perform at this Mecha High School conference
Oh, that was
at
dope with
UCLA.
Johnny.
And
Yeah, I
he's like,
remember that.
Johnny, at this point, I think he's still working at the PY. And so I go do that. And then like we just started chopping it up. And then somebody was like, yo, this is Angel's music. This is Angel's music. I think So Real had told me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like Angel? Angel?
Yeah, you like this dude, right?
And then that's when I discovered the documentary. Like I think the first song I listened from you was Sincerely Yours.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I was like, yo, this shit is hard, dog. Like I know this fool right here, right?
Yeah, that's dope,
And
man.
to me at that point, meeting you was so important for me because
Mm,
I'm listening to these legends, right? But to me, all these legends, dog, and Psycho Realm, right? Psycho Realm, these are fools from the late 90s, like older than me. But a lot of the other legends are black, you know?
mm.
And I could relate with them, but that's a whole different, it's two different cultures. At some
Straight
point
up.
they integrate, right? But it's two
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
lifestyles, right? Two different experiences. So I'd be like, yeah, this is cool, but I'm not black, dog. I recognize that right away, right? And then I met you, and you're just like, oh, and I was like, oh shit, this fool's Chicano. He's fucking hood. He dresses like me.
Yeah.
He talks like a fool. Like I met somebody that I could look up to, and that's why I was just like, I was so eager to kind of just put in the work, but I just couldn't, right? Because of the
Mm,
location and timing.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
underage, and I used to get so mad when Surreal was like, yeah, I just had a session with Angel for like 4 hours after work. And I was like, motherfucker, like, let me join one day. Let me be a
Yeah.
part
He
of these
said,
sessions.
let me kick it in there.
But I had no idea that you were recording your album. So
Oh man, that's a
those late
trip.
nights, those late night, those were historical nights for you guys, right? There's recording up you
Oh
recorded the whole album
man.
at the PY, right?
Um, fuck, I think so, man. I think I went back and forth from the park and the PY. Yeah, man. But yeah, man, shout out to, the PY, man. Like that space and what it meant to all of us at that time, man. It was a beautiful thing. But it was cool, man. We would lock up, close programming, and we would just record, man. Like we would go there on the weekends and um so we were able to do I was able to do my album essentially for free. And we brought in Ace Sharp. His name was Ace Sharp, dude from Venice. He was real cool. Um, he mixed it for us. He went to school for that, so he mixed it. Paid him what I could, and then actually, fucking Oscars the one that paid for my album, dog. Fucking get that shit done and printed. So, I mean, I don't fuck with him no more, but respect to that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was cool. Um, yeah, those late nights were magical, man. Like, it was so much fun, dog. Because I would love being in the studio, dog. Like that's all I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like we'd stay there till like fucking 1 in the morning, call it a day. We'd be back the next morning. I get my coffee and then pull up and spit it. Just it was so dope, man. Like even when you're not recording, you're just there listening to Surreal fucking
Do his thing.
play records and yeah, do his thing, man, and chop up beats. And he's a genius, dog. Like that motherfucker's so talented, man. Like I swear, dog, if he only had the opportunity, like if someone would have discovered his ass, man, because he's so fucking talented, man.
To
And
me, he's the
I mean,
goat.
dog, I mean that, dog. Like his talent deserves to be out there, dog, in a big way, man. But I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to work with him, and he produced my whole shit, man. And he's one of those geniuses, dog, when it comes to music and sound and instrumentals and production. Like he would do shit and tell me to like spit a certain way. I was like, nah, fool, nah. And he'd be like, just do it, fool. And so I'll do it. I'm like, damn, this shit was dope. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I appreciate him and his guidance, man. Like, you know, we made that album together, and you know, I feel bad now in hindsight because he wanted to put his name on the album, right? Like Young Gifted and Ground by Angel and So Real, or produced by So Real. And I told that Fuchale, you know, like I was like, nah, fool, it's my album, you know. But it was our album, dog. Like later I realized that like he was still on the album, you know, of course. Like he, he produced the whole shit, like he got his love. But I think back, I wish I would have listened to him, and because he deserved that, man. Like
Yeah,
the
because
time.
if you look it up on the distribution, it only says Angel.
Yeah, yeah. So I regret that, man, because it was ours. Yeah, I spit it, and yeah, I was telling my story, but like he brought it to life. You know what I'm saying? So much respect to him.
I know I asked you about music videos. Um, there was a time, there was a lot of talk when you were planning for the rollout. I was a senior in high school at this point, and you were getting ready to move to Syracuse, right?
Yeah,
So you were
go
doing
to
a
grad
lot of
school.
like things here and there. But during the rollout, you were recording a bunch of music videos that never came out. Why was that?
Yeah, I did one music video to So Pain. I did. There's a music video for that. You know, it. I don't know why it didn't come out, dog. I don't. Um, the same dude produced it for me, Marcelino. I mean, he recorded it for me, put the video together.
And you had a
We actually
cameo,
have,
right?
yeah, we had the Alchemist on that bitch, dog. We were recording a scene right by his studio, and we were recording, and we were like, man, imagine if he came out, and sure enough, dog, he pops out,
Manifested. Yeah.
and we see him, and we fucking approach him, and Manny and Surreal start talking to him, and you know, I introduced myself, I told him what we were doing, and we asked him, like, man, would you down to like be in it? He's like, hell yeah, like let's do it. So he vibed with us. He was in the video, dog. I spit my verse. He was right next to me, showing love. He was into it. And I remember, dog, when we wrapped up, he's like, hey man, like send that to me. Like as soon as it's done, like send it to me. And I was like, cool. And never did, dog. Missed opportunity, man.
I
Missed
remember the
opportunity.
trailer. I think I was already in college. I was already a freshman in college, and I was still trying to tap in. And this is right around the time you guys were already like going full blown pico reps, but this is you're still trying to do solo stuff. And I seen a trailer, and there was a scene in there where your mom te persinas, I think,
Oh
in your
yeah, yeah.
apartment, and it's like coming soon, and it just it never came out. Dog.
That's so pain. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I don't know what happened to that video. I don't know if like we didn't finish our scenes or what happened, dog, but I think it exists, dog. You know what? I'm gonna hit homie. I'm gonna hit him up, dog, and see what he says, man. But yeah, that's the video. So pain, dog.
Even for little homie, you try to make me the little homie in the video, and
Yeah,
you left
remember
me
I asked
hanging,
you,
dog. You left me hanging, fool.
dog. We should have done that, man. Remember I told you about that?
Yeah, I remember that
I
shit. And
love
you,
that song, man.
that was my favorite
That's a
song on the
dope.
album.
That's a dope song. It's just that story, dog. Like, right? Like
That's this whole
that song's a
interview.
banger.
That's the whole first part of the interview, dog. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that shit was
man. Just
the album is still every time I have my Spotify wrap up, it's still on my top five every year because I listen
yeah,
to it.
that's
Because, first of all, like being just homies with Soul, I'm always gonna be a big fan of his production, of his music, and but just like being fan of a y'all fools, because I was always the younger fool coming into the studio listening to you fools, trying to be a part
yeah.
of. Yeah, I remember one time I asked me to join Pico Reds, but I was so in my head, I was like, nah, fool, this is South Central, dog. Like this is I ain't repping nobody else's shit. That shit was it was an interesting time. And then I remember there was a I have an old phone. I brought this up when I interviewed Soul. I have an old phone. I was able to go into it, and I have a text message with Manny. And this one when I was still chopping it up with Manny like on a regular basis, because I had everybody's phone number, and I had asked him a question about Pico Reps because I was already living in Ohio, and he was like, "Damn, little homie, like Pico Reps is no more."
Mm,
And so that shit broke my heart for because y'all had literally just dropped Game Changers,
yeah,
right? And
man.
y'all were saying it like, yeah, fool, we're performing here and there and da da da. And
We were
then
barely coming up too,
barely
man.
coming up, and then boom, I get back home like one summer, it's like, yeah, Angel quit rapping, Manny's doing his thing, and then
Yeah.
Soul and everybody else is like, doing their own thing.
I fucked up, man. I was just stubborn, man. You know what happened? I don't know if Surreal told you this, but they wanted to change the name.
Yeah, I think so. I
And
don't remember this fool. To me, I didn't really care. I just wanted the
I,
music, fool.
but it was too like so it was Smooth Brother and Surreal versus me and Manny, right? Like Redefine was kind of like he was open to whatever. But me and Manny were like, fuck no, it's Pico Reps, right? And Smooth Brother and Surreal, I just felt like I was like, man, we gotta stay true to who we are. That's what we're known by. Like, and they're like, oh, it's too I forgot what the argument was. Like they wanted to be more like they wanted to be strategic or some shit. And they lost me with that shit. Once they started talking like that, I was like, man, fuck this shit. Like it pissed me off, dog. And Smooth was fucking with illicit dialect at the time too. So he was going back and forth with both groups. And I love Smooth, but that bothered me, dog. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so I was kind of like, I was like, nah. I said no. I was like, nah, dog. Like, if you guys are gonna change the name, like, do it without me, And I was stubborn, dog. Like, and I was already contemplating, my age, and I was already in my head, like, maybe I'm too old. These fools are younger than me. So that moment to me was just like a moment to walk away, and I did, dog. That was my bad, dog. I think I'm the one that fucked that group up, dog, because I think had I not done that, like we likely would have stayed together and kept rocking. I think we would have came up, man, honestly, because we had such a nice little buzz. We're already doing shows. We
I
already
had
had like local,
shirts.
yeah, we had local spots that were already like because we would sell out, so they were like they wanted to fuck with us, and that was my bad, dog. I was just like I was stubborn, and I remember we were at the studio. We had a heated argument, and I think I just left and I talked to Manny and I was like, nah, fuck them fools. You know what I mean? Like I was stubborn and we squashed it, but I think like everyone took that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My headphones died though.
All right.
My bad. Um, so I think that moment just kind of really was pivotal for the group, man. And we didn't recover from that, dog. Like we still kicked it and we still like, made music, but that was it. Like Smooth really went with his other group after that. Manny started doing his solo thing, and Redef did his solo thing. Surreal did his solo thing. I had my album that I was pushing, um, and we just never regrouped, man. Yeah, missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah. Well, then I came back from college, and so Rio and I started doing our own thing. But then it was yeah, it was sad, dog, and it was depressing, because to
Yeah,
me, I was
you don't.
as a
That's what
as
I'm
a
saying. Like
as a
you don't
young
realize who
MC.
you're affecting. Yeah, dog. Like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that actually tell me that. Like, why'd you stop? Like.
it was hard to hear that shit because like, I'm still like I still have the dream, right? Like, this shit will never die. But I remember I was 19, 18 years old, and I'm like in my head, like, fuck this college shit. Like, Pico Raps is gonna blow up. I'm gonna blow up with them. They're gonna, I'm gonna drop out of college, and then boom, like in the blink of an eye, dog, that just shit just drops, and I was like, what the fuck, like, and it kind of like, mentally to me, it also and I didn't really, I was still too young to understand it, but just to not have something like a guiding light for me, it kind of just like it ruined my shit too, because I didn't really know where to look to, I
Mhm.
didn't know if you and Soul were still cool or you and Manny were still cool. And
Yeah,
it's like, who do I look up to? Like, who are like when I go back home, like, where do I go and kick it at where I could just like learn from other MCs or just maybe be a feature dog? And that shit
yeah.
to me is
So
just like, it
true,
just
man.
fucking boom, it just blew up. And luckily for me, I ended up getting real cool with So Real and we started doing
Yeah,
our
y'all
own
made
thing.
some dope shit together. Yeah.
We made some shit years after that, but I remember in the moment I was like, nah, this fool can't quit. And then
Yeah.
I was like, this fool album just dropped, and I was like, yo, this is boom, and then like that, and then Radio Silence, and
Yeah.
then a couple years ago, Rapid 7 on Manny's album,
Oh yeah, yeah, did a feature.
and it says featuring, and it said on him. I was like, what the fuck, right? And then I listened to this shit, and I was like, oh, what the fuck, like this fool really came out of retirement for a verse.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, that was beautiful, man. Manny hit me up. He was working on his project, and I was hoping he'd reach out, man. That's my guy, man. I love Manny B. Um, so he hit me up, and he's like, "Yo, man, like, I know you stepped away from it, man, but like, I got this beat that I hear you on." Um, I was like, "Send it to me, dog." So he sent it to me, and I don't know if he had. I think maybe he had his verse already on it, and so I spit a little something on there, and shot it back to him, man. I remember he asked me to perform it with him recently, dog, and I couldn't get myself back into that mindset, like it's been so long for me, dog. I couldn't make it, but I love Manny B, man, and I think he's super talented, and I love that he's still on his shit, man. He has everything um you need to make it, man. So hopefully, like, he gets to where he wants to go with it, man.
Last
But yeah,
question
I
is
think for me, it was just like I was older, dog. I think I got too in my head about my age, and I felt like I was like, I did everything I needed to do with rap, and I just kind of stepped away from it, man. But a lot of people told me that, dog, afterwards, like, what the fuck are you doing, dog? Like,
yeah.
you're talented, like, you're dope, fool. What the fuck is wrong with you? And, you know, I made my peace with it, though.
Last question in general about music, or just to wrap this whole episode up.
For sure.
Feature, like dream feature that you always had, producer
Oh, dream
wise and
feature,
rapper. Yeah.
producer wise, um, I think it would have to be Ninth Wonder. Rapper, uh, Evidence, dog.
Mm.
Like that fool, man. Evidence was he was so dope, dog. Like he's one of my favorite MCs. His cadence, his style, like he's just dope. And actually learned that he kicked it with some of the homies. Like he's a local, Venice. Grew up in Santa Monica and Venice. Uh, but small circle, man. But yeah, my dream feature that a local cat, Evidence, man. That would be fucking dope. Him
Mm.
and Rocka, maybe, dog. You know what I'm saying? Get fucking dilated on that shit. That would be incredible. I'd come out of retirement for that shit, dog. Straight
Uh,
up.
well, we've come to the end of episode 1, my boy. It's been a fucking pleasure listening to your
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
life
yeah.
story. We're still missing a whole like we're
Hey,
still
man, this
missing a
was so much
master's,
fun, dog.
professor. We haven't even talked about fucking the spirituality stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, man.
And
You took me down the rabbit hole, my boy. Like,
that's what I
you
do,
got me
dog.
thinking about shit I haven't thought about in a long ass time, man.
That's what I do, dog. That's why I created this platform
Yeah,
because sometimes it's important for us to let go. But
yeah.
one final question. I always ask this question in the first episode, everybody. If you could talk to your future self, what would you ask him?
My future self. Um,
Well, I guess to you that means something else, but I mean to the future self.
to my future self, um, I would ask if everything I believed about who we are spiritually is true or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I said to
That's
you means something else. Yeah.
that's what I would ask. Like, yo, like, where are we as humanity, dog? Like, I really think that we're powerful beyond measure, and I think we got to tap into that essence inside of us all, man. And so that's what I would ask my future self. Hey, like, do we make it? You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
As a
that's crazy.
humanity,
Do we make
as
it?
a
That's
collective, yeah.
crazy.
Do we
Wow.
make it, or
Man.
was I wrong?
Well, I appreciate it, dog. Guys, part of this was for me to give you your flowers in person. I mean, obviously, we're
Yeah, I
doing this through
appreciate
Zoom.
you,
I'm
man.
not. I'm not afraid to give people their flowers, but thank you.
Yeah. Hey, love you, man. Appreciate you. I'm proud of you, man. And I'm so glad to be a guest in your show, man. But more importantly, man, just to chop it up with you, man, it's been such a pleasure, man. And we gotta link up, man, and just chop it up more informally, man. I miss you. I miss your vibe, man. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're doing your thing, and I look forward to listening to this show, man, and doing another one. And dog, if you ever want me on a feature, dog, I'll do it 100%, dog. You just let me know.
Oh, say, look, I'm gonna click this shit. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna put that on the ball. My
Yeah, let's
boy, for
do
like,
it,
hey,
dog.
G, you owe me a verse, fool. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, dog.
All right,
100%, dog.
for sure. Thank you. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Nah, man, I just wanna I hope, shit, whoever listened to this gets something out of it, man. I appreciate you making the space, appreciate platforms like these. And it was fun, dog. Like I'm glad like this is my first ever podcast as a guest, and it was a lot of fun to do. So thank you.
I mean, one thing I want to say, dog, is start yours again, please.
Yeah, yeah. Hope that's on my to-do list, dog.
Uh,
It's on my to-do list. I'm gonna need your help with that though.